Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Honey Flow Talk Show. Good to see everyone here. Hope everyone is doing really well this week. So many things have been happening globally, of course, with everything that's been happening around the world. But I just, took some time out today just to reflect as well. So I just want to say happy Remembrance Day to everyone in Canada, of course, in the States. Happy Veterans Day, and also in Europe as well, and pretty much across the countries. This is a day I took to definitely reflect. Here in Canada we call it Remembrance Day, and I had some fond memories of my grandfather. He actually was in World War III, you guys, and he's got so many great stories. He lived to be 103 years old and had such a great outlook and sense of humor, and was so positive in life that it definitely got me emotional today, thinking about how he was. And so many things he would talk about, that the pandemic was nothing, and anything that we endured in this lifetime was really nothing compared to some of the things that he saw and the people that he lost along the way. He was actually a chef in World War II, and he has such great, fond, funny stories as well, and saw lots of things that we probably would never see in our lifetime. So I just wanted to pay tribute today, and really, as I was thinking about him and reflecting, I really wanted to do an awesome show for him. I wasn't able to do that when he was in the nursing home before he passed away, but I really wanted to do like a Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, like just pull up the music, from anywhere from late 1920s all the way up to 50s, 60s for him, because I knew that would have put a smile on his face. But as I think about him, and I think about all the people that have serviced, our country, and across the border, and even across the world. So salute to all you guys and everyone that I've interviewed, all the DJs I've interviewed on my talk show that have also, been veterans as well. I've interviewed quite a few people, men and women, that are in the States. So salute to you guys. And speaking of that too, we do have a special guest. So welcome YouTube and Facebook too. We have a special guest. It's going to be a bit different. He's not a streamer here on Twitch, but he is a publisher and an author, and he actually was in the Air Force. So it's just so timely that I'm having him on my show today. He served in the U.S. Air Force. He was a commissioned officer. He toured for over 4 years as well, and was a missile launch officer. So I'll have to talk to him about that as well, in Minot, North Dakota, which is very close to my home city, Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I got to ask if he's ever been out there too when he was in the Air Force, and what it was like being there. His name's JAMESHROBY, guys, and make sure you guys add him. Urban Knight 68 he goes by on Instagram. He's written a lot of thriller adventure books, which I find really interesting. I think he's on his 7th book or more. I'm going to have to double check that. He's Amazon's best-selling author. Urban Knight's thriller. Some of the covers, or the topics that he's done on his books, are called Caribbean Nights, Pale Horse, Black Bear, and Sins of a Father. Oh wow, he's got the Random Affair. That sounds a little spicy. We got to talk to him about that one. But let's bring him in. Enough talking from me, and we're going to learn a lot more about him. And you guys could check out his books on Amazon and online, and make sure you guys are supporting him as well. They look really good. I can't wait to read some of his books as well. So let's bring in James H. Roby. Hello.
Hello, DJ Honeyflow.
How you doing?
Outstanding. And before we go any further, it's Roby.
Oh, Roby. Okay, I was wondering. I'm like, is that Robbie or Roby? I would
No,
pronounce it Robbie. Okay. Sorry about that.
no worries.
Roby. Okay, James H. Roby. So are you actually originally from Detroit too?
Born and raised.
Yeah. What could you
Oh,
say?
you no,
Okay.
you've met my friend DJ Ron Love, we grew up together. We went to high school together. We went to college together. Both born and raised in Detroit. Both went to the same high school. So yeah, Detroit is in my blood.
Oh, wow. That's amazing that you guys are still friends.
Oh
That's
yeah,
years, is that?
yeah. I broke some mirrors along the way or something, but it's one of those kind of things that he's been my friend for as long as I can remember. He says 10th grade, and his memory is, as I'm sure he'll tell you, is perfect. So I don't challenge him, but it's just that he was in that time in my life that was very developmental, from college, from high school to college, and then after that, we just kind of just bumped into people, stayed in touch. He was my best man in my wedding, so yeah, he's my man. 20 grand.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a really great supporter of my show. He better be on my show today, by the way. He better come through. But he always comes through to my show. I feel like he's like a gentle giant. Like he's a lot taller than I thought he was when I met you both.
He's a big guy. And he's
Yeah.
always been that way. My sister, God rest her soul, when he would call, when we were in high school, she would give him a hard time, call him the whisperer because he speaks so softly. He's gotten a lot better, but in high school, it was like what? So yeah,
Oh, man.
he's a great guy, and I listened to like almost 3 hours of your interview with him, and I learned some things about him. So it was he's my man.
Yeah, he was I think definitely shy. He's like, "What are you gonna ask me? What do you?" But it's so cute because he's such a big teddy bear and you're like, he's not gonna be scared of me. And
What's funny is that when you were first on, I was texting him like, "Say more, talk louder," and giving him advice. And then he eventually came his own. I thought he did a pretty good job.
he did really great. Yeah, he did really, really good. And you're more extroverted. I could see you're a
I beg,
joker
I,
as
I
well.
beg your, I beg your pardon. We
You
just
are.
started. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm
I could
shocked. Simply,
tell. We didn't really talk to. So for all you guys that don't know, DJ Ron Love is on Twitch. He does a great show, you guys. Make sure everyone adds him. DJ underscore Ron Love. This is one of his best friends here. And he had a lot of kind words to about James. James, like a lot of great words. I don't know if you knew, but he was trying to sell you off. I don't know if you knew. We could get into it, but he was definitely trying to sell you off to me. I don't know if you knew that,
yeah,
but
that
he's
sounds like
like, "Oh, really?"
yeah.
He's like, "Well, Honey Flo. Well, Honey Flo." He's like,
Yeah,
"I
that's
may know someone." He's like, "I got a good friend, a really, really good friend." And so I was surprised. I was like, who is your friend? Bring him down. Let's get the tea on him, and see. But
Are you
it,
gonna
it
are you gonna are you gonna pop a red balloon on me?
no, I won't pop a balloon on you. I think
I
you
should do that.
you strike me as a sincere, decent guy. I don't know you well. I know your mom's in the background, so I may have to
No, she's
interview
gone.
her.
She's gone.
Oh,
No,
I
no,
may
no.
need to
She's
interview
we won't,
her.
no, no, no. We won't have that. She's very old. She doesn't remember things anymore. She'll say anything. So you couldn't trust it anyway.
Ooh, I like that. That's cute. That's cute. How you doing, Steve? Good to see you. He says he's soul skates in Detroit. Is skating big out there in Detroit? Roller
It's
skating?
it's Steve, do you go to Northland? Because that's like the big place on the west side of Detroit. There's a few more around the area, but it's caught on with a certain demographic. When I say demographic, I mean age group. Um, I recently brought my daughter to Northland, and she picked up the skating bug. She likes that, but it's not big, but it's definitely still alive.
Okay. Do you skate at all?
Yeah. I mean, I skated when I was, you know, before I met Ron Dawson. I mean, Ron Love, that sort of thing. I skated, for years and years, and it kind of died off as music changed, as taste changed. So I haven't skated in a long time. But like I said, I took my daughter, and I didn't fall until she dragged me down. So I still have some of the skills.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, Steve's a professional skater. He owns a skate store and sells skates and does jumps and leaps and everything on the rink,
Yeah,
Uh
I'm not like that.
oh, okay. Nice. Nice. So what could you say that Detroit has to offer. If you're originally from Detroit, speaking to someone across the world, because we have a lot of Europeans, we have a lot of just different people from different countries online here on Twitch watching, what could you say that like your city has to offer?
Wow, how long do you have? I mean, the Detroit has a storied history. It's very much in the public eye. It's always been in the public eye. I mean, people in the United States know that the recent presidential candidate came to the Detroit and said, "If you vote for my opponent, the whole country will be like Detroit." So Detroit's got a rap of being like this horrible place. Um, Detroit is like a lot of major U.S. cities. It's got its share of issues and everything, but it's always been a working class town. People who are in Detroit, very strong union town, very strong blue collar kind of thing. But Detroit has contributed musically. I mean, a lot. Of course, most famously is the Motown sound, but more recently, in the time period that I grew up, it was the techno sound that came out from the Belleville 3, which influences and is still around. Detroit during my time growing up was still had that kind of influence, still had a lot of places, a lot of touches to jazz and the blues in Detroit. But right now, and I see somebody wrote on here Detroit basketball. Yeah, you can't talk about Detroit without talking about the Bad Boys. I mean, that was a great era to grow up in with Isaiah Thomas and that team back in the late '80s. One of the only teams that beat Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls and won a championship ring. Detroit Lions is doing phenomenal. I mean, it's almost breathtaking how good they're doing. The baseball team, the Tigers, did like a great year. They got a bad call. We're not going to talk about that. They should have been in the World Series, but we're going to move on. But it just culturally is great. The what up though? The city has a lot to offer as far as museums. One of the world class museums, Detroit Institute of Art. One of the best zoos in the world is the Detroit Zoological Park. The downtown riverfront is just breathtaking. More recently, since the 06 procession, been a lot of changes in Detroit. When I came back home, I didn't recognize it. Detroit's downtown has been completely modernized.
Really?
I mean, oh my God, it's beautiful down there.
Are a
Nightclubs,
lot of
restaurants.
are a lot of people moving back? Because I heard like 1 million people left. I think in 2008 was it, or with the whole recession, the auto thing.
So since 1969, I don't know how familiar you are with Detroit history. There was the race riots, which really caused the downfall and the reduction of demographics in Detroit. When I was in Detroit as a child, it was 1 million people, and now it's like I think it's like 700,000 people. So not quite 1 million people have left, but a lot of people did leave. There are a lot of people coming back. There's certain areas. There's Corktown. There's also downtown, and there's some areas in the Midtown area that's being modernized and brought up to speed. I just looked, off of Michigan Avenue. There's a condo that goes for $990,000.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah, so
crazy.
it is crazy. Like I saw the
I like
views, like
Southfield. I think I went to Southfield, Michigan. I
so
like that.
Southfield.
That was
Yeah,
nice.
Southfield is it's where the first wave of people who fled from Detroit after the riot came to, and then after that, the next wave of African Americans have moved to Southfield. So it's a nice town. They have a lot of nice family-oriented things. I love the community center and the civic center. Take my daughter there all the time. So yeah, I mean, overall, there's nothing in Detroit. I mean, if you're going to the suburbs, Ferndale, Royal Oak, all lively places with live music and if you come in the summer, come in the summer, you could throw a dart at the map and find something to do, and it's just stuff going on all the time. So yeah, for your European friends, I mean, if you're a DJ Honeyflow fan and you like music, you got to come to the movement, the annual techno music festival that's here. And if you missed that, there's still other music festivals. I mean, look, I clearly don't care much about Detroit, but I could go on and on. I mean, I live and breathe Detroit, and then a lot of this came, if I can just digest to one story, is when I was in the service, I was flying back home, and I'm at an airport, and people are sitting around, and it's few four people there. And they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from San Antonio." "Oh, I went to the Alamo. That was great." "Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from Cleveland." "Oh, I went to the Rock and Roll Museum." "Oh, that was great." "Where are you from?" "I'm from Detroit." "Oh, I got mugged in an alley in Detroit." And it's like, what? I mean, first of all, what are you doing in an alley anywhere? But it was just this kind of thing of people felt that way about Detroit, that it
Yeah.
was like the national punching bag. And I've always felt a kind of kinship to that, because it's like, what are you really saying? Because I understand that this may not be prevalent to people who are not um, Americans, but Detroit racially is a microcosm of the United States. Detroit, through most of my life and up to now, has been majority black. So when people are kind of sticking it to Detroit, I kind of wonder what they're really getting at. So I've always felt like, to be a good ambassador of Detroit. I never shied away from that. When I was in the service, people were like, "You're from Detroit?" It's like, yeah, well, where's the horse? That kind of thing. When I was at
Mhm.
Michigan State, the kid asked me, "Where are you from?" "I'm from Detroit." "Have you ever seen a dead body?" I mean, like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we still go on the way to school. So
But a lot of
I've
locals
always
say
tried to
stuff.
take the book. Hmm?
A lot of locals say stuff, because I remember when I visited Detroit, we would go back. There was only one four-star hotel out there that, like, well, I could book online, or five-star hotel, and I got it cheap. So it was amazing, because I just got it like instantly on Priceline, got a deal, because it was the only five-star hotel in Southfield, Michigan. And the guys would always be like, "Oh, great, you made it back alive. Oh, you didn't get shot."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I've never heard
why do
that
they keep
before.
saying this to me? And even
Detroit,
when I
Detroit does have a bad rap, and it's
yeah,
and
and then
it's
when I
and it's
moved
doing what it
here, they're
says to
just
be.
like, "Don't go through Detroit." So I mean, I saw a few wild things in Detroit for sure, like at gas stations, or it was like a big club out at a gas station. Like, that would never happen here. Like, you get a lot of you see a lot of excitement, I find, across the
Well,
border.
you know what?
You know,
To that
Canada's a little
end,
bit more boring.
well, you know what? Let me put it out there that Toronto is like one of my favorite cities in the world, and
Mhm.
I enjoy coming there. It's always things to do. Toronto and Detroit is just night and day. And I don't know when this was, when you went to Detroit, but things have really changed since the last few years. But I
Yeah.
remember that. When my wife first came to Detroit, and she says, "Oh, I want to go to McDonald's." I said, "Nah, no, you don't." "No, no, no, let's go to McDonald's." And she was freaked out by the bulletproof glass. It's like,
Oh,
I tried to warn you. So, but
wow.
there are some real problems in Detroit, but there are also people who are addressing these problems. My good
Mhm.
friend Jeffrey Jones, who recently ran for political office, he's very active in the community. So, people like him are very active in trying to make changes in the city. So the city is, I'm sure I could go to Toronto and find some horrible things to
Oh,
say
for
about Toronto.
sure.
But
Everywhere.
I love
Yeah.
the city. I mean, I recently went to the International Film Festival, had a great time.
Oh,
So
nice.
you
Yeah.
could, yeah, I read it was great, and you
You
could
gotta
come to
message
Detroit and have
me
a
next
similar
time
thing.
you're in then. You gotta message me, if you're
Yeah.
at the film. I was at the film fest, so we
Did you? What'd
probably
you go see?
oh, geez. I have to look back. I'm drawing a blank right now. I know it'll come to me. It was definitely a few foreign films. Like, it was at the Scotiabank,
Yeah,
theater.
yeah,
I
okay,
was
yeah.
there a lot. So, what
I guess
films did you see?
I saw.
I can't
Oh,
remember what
shoot,
I
I
saw.
just had it. I saw the Brotherhood. I think that's what it was called. With God, I can't remember. And I saw the one. Who's the one that plays the Scarlet Witch? She was in one. The Assessment, and they were.
Oh.
And the Brotherhood was about neo Nazis in the 1980s, and the pursuit to try to take down this organization. And the Assessment was a sci-fi kind of thriller where it's the future. Resources are very limited in the world, and you have to go through this assessment to be able to have a child. And that's what this. Her name is Elizabeth Olsen. She starred in that. I really want to
Oh.
see the Conclave, which has recently started here, but that was what I wanted to see.
Oh,
So,
you know what I saw? I think it was Lego by Pharrell Williams. How could I draw a blank
oh
on
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Was
What was
so
the name of
good.
it?
It was
Piece by
so
Piece.
good. Yeah, piece
Yeah, I
by
want to see
piece.
that.
That one was really good. I enjoyed it. I hope to maybe play it on my show if I can.
Oh,
If you
that.
guys missed it, Google Pharrell Williams. It's a story and documentary of his life, but it's
But
done in a
told through
Lego
Lego.
version. Yeah, and I thought that was brilliant because
It's pretty
everyone's
cool.
like, and he said he felt like he could express himself better doing it as an avatar, and people thought he was crazy. But this is the world we're living in with
Yes.
avatars and like different, characters and people. So that I thought that was it was so timely and good. And they have Missy Elliott and Timberland, and because I didn't realize they all went to school together.
Oh,
So
really? No, I didn't
yeah,
know
they
that.
show his life. So I saw that piece by piece, and there's a famous rapper, African rapper, Canadian. Oh, I don't know if it's Kaon. Oh, I can't remember his name. It's so bad. But anyways, he also produced a Canadian African documentary on, uh, you know, s- um, just being in Africa, like a huge storyline as well there. So that was really good.
Did you
Yeah.
which weekend did you go? Because I went the second weekend and it was just like going to the movies, so I didn't see any stars. I was
Oh, you
disappointed by
didn't see
that.
the red carpet? Were you
I,
around TIFF,
but
the light box?
I saw the red carpet, but like I
Yeah.
said, I went the second weekend and there was nobody there. I just walked in and there was just people walking around. I had been to that theater before, so I didn't even get to experience anything new. I was
Oh,
really looking for a good friend of mine. She went to it years and years and years ago, and I think she said she saw Samuel L. Jackson. It's like, oh, I gotta go.
yeah, I saw a
And
bunch of stars coming out of the red carpet, but I didn't
when did you
know.
go? The first weekend or the second
Um,
weekend?
oh, I don't remember. I think it
I think
might
it was
have
the first
been,
weekend.
yeah, it could have been the second weekend, but I think I
Really?
came at the right timing. Like it was earlier on, right? Like at 5 o'clock,
Um,
4 o'clock. So
I
all the
see.
stars were going on the red carpet. All of them were coming out, but I had no hot clue who you would probably know better than I would. All the
Well, I
actors, I
guess I
didn't
have
know
to,
who was
like you
who.
said, message you next time so you can show me. Because I went
Yeah.
there and it was like, walked in, it was just like a movie
Did
theater.
you just come on
I
your
was so
own or
cold.
did you come with
I just
like
came on my own.
oh, you should have told me. You know who I am now. You should have called me. Like I would have definitely gone, like met up with you. But oh well, next time. But you can't come to Toronto and not now. Now that we're doing an
I
interview,
understand.
you
I
gotta
have
mess.
been thoroughly chastised. It will never happen again. You're gonna be like,
Yeah,
why is
I'm
this man
gonna give
texting
Ron
me again?
love heck.
What
He
do
never
you
told
want?
me either. He never told me you came either. I'm gonna give him heck as
Yeah,
well.
he definitely knew. I couldn't get
Oh,
him to come.
oh, he should have told
I had to
me.
force him to go to the. No, I shouldn't say that, but it was my idea to go to the Scratch Baxter concert.
Really? That's
But
surprising to me because he's such a Scratch Bastard fan, and I thought
we
it was
were
the other
and
way around.
we were talking about it, and he was the one who said he has these barbecues. I mean, I heard of Scratch Bastard, but he said he has these barbecues all over the country.
World. Yeah.
The world. And to fast forward, we were talking about because I had visited Toronto with my family,
Mhm.
and I was texting while I was there. He's, oh, I gotta go, I gotta do this. Okay, we're going. And he says, oh well, when should I go? And then we start talking about Scratch Bastard, and this thing about the barbecue came up. It's okay next year. Because when we were talking about it, it was literally like the next week he was going to be there. I said, next year we're going. So we went, and we met you, and we met Music Spasm, much love, and a few other folks, DJ
Sight
Father Damien.
Giver, Sight
Yep.
Giver,
So, oh
and
yeah.
her
Yeah,
friend.
so, so that turned out to be a really fun experience. But yeah, I mean, I'll at a drop of a hat, I'll go to Toronto. I have a really good friend who lives there. I hope you're on. If you're not, I'm gonna yell at you about it. But yeah, I've had a lot of great experiences in Toronto.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it was fun. It was so they came out here, guys. I got to meet him. We all met at Father Damien's church. I was sandwiched in between two security guards, James and DJ Ron Love, because they're both tall or taller. I was like, oh wow, I feel like I'm in between two security guards right now, here. But it
That
was
was quite
great.
an experience. That was
What
quite an
was
experience. And the sheer number of DJ sets that he had, it's just like,
oh,
wow.
I know it's crazy.
That was
And
that was
everything
insane.
else he has in his studio, we won't talk about
We're not
everything
gonna talk
else. Yeah, it was
that was
it was interesting.
that was very interesting. We're gonna leave it at that. Leave your listeners wanting for more. But yeah, it was very
Exactly.
interesting.
We're not gonna say we're not. It's up to
But he's a
Father
great guy. I follow
He
him
is a
now
great
on Twitch. I listen to him, and
guy.
I
Nice.
like his format that he listens to music, but he's not ashamed of who he is, and he openly prays, and that's a beautiful thing. It's like
Yeah.
you could be a Christian and not be some sort of nerd or
Prude
something, or not
or else
prude.
People do think
but you can still have fun, and he has a great time. He's always upbeat. When we went to his place, man, he was just he's happy. He's enjoying life. So that was a beautiful thing to see, and I uh,
exactly. Yeah,
definitely
me and him are
appreciate that.
good friends too. We've DJ'd before and we banter each other a lot, and like he's taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot, and I find it interesting because I'm not Catholic, but I'm Christian.
Mhm.
So even me and him have differences, but the thing that I think is beautiful is even if we have differences, we still can have a healthy conversation. It's not like this day and age when you have differences and people are like slashing each other back and forth like Facebook. No offense to anyone on Facebook,
Or
but like I appreciate
X
that.
was toxic.
Yes,
Or
exactly. Yeah. We got DJ Filipino in the building. He's going to be coming on this Wednesday, guys. I got to actually get the flyer done after this show for you, DJ Filipino. It's been busy. Make sure everyone in the room's adding him. We got Steve in the room. Thank you, Jangis, for, of course, the resub. Thank you again. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you for always supporting my show. We got Jangis 3000. 24 minutes ago, he just subscribed to me. I missed that. So thank you,
that's cool.
Jengis. He's always in the background listening somewhere. I always see him popping up like Jack out of the box. Is that what it is? Those little toys, how is it Jack out of the box? I can't remember. I'm getting
Jack in the
old.
Box.
Oh, Jack in the Box. Let's see what else. Yeah, so good to see you guys. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat as well for James. So you did mention that you also serviced in, and since it's Remembrance Day, I think it's good to kind of go through that history. You serviced in the Air Force in my not. You did a term that was over 4 years. What places did you go to when you
Well,
were there?
I was in Minot for 4
Mhm,
years, three
mhm.
months, 27 days, 17 hours. But that was actually my second tour duty. I was My first duty was I was a recruiter for the state of Michigan, and then I went to Minot, and then after that I taught in South Alabama. I did a tour at Clear, Alaska, in a remote radar site, and I ended my career in Peterson Air Force Base. Is a space base now, but back then it was still an Air Force base. And then I did some reserve time.
Oh,
But
wow.
Minot was challenging. I
Mhm.
don't know if you ever been to Minot. I did not know you were from Winnipeg. I heard you
Winnipeg.
mention. Oh
Yeah.
God, Winnipeg was the life. I mean, without Winnipeg, I would have clearly lost my mind. I mean, it was 272 miles from my doorstep to the hotel I used to stay at all the time. And man, any day, any weekend I wasn't manning a launch control center, I was in Winnipeg. It was just,
What
it,
year were you? It was 91, right? 91 to
I
94?
was there from 93 to 97.
We could have crossed because I was in high school. Like, I think I
Yeah, you're in
graduated
high
in.
school, so I did not see any high schoolers while I was in Winnipeg.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I wonder if we crossed paths because Winnipeg's so
No,
small, like the party scene and the clubs and different things. If you went out,
there was a hotel. It's an older hotel, and they had a restaurant slash bar, and they had like a reggae kind of thing going on in there. I can't remember the name. I looked it up a few years
Gary
ago.
Hotel? No,
Hmm?
Fort Gary Hotel. Was it downtown?
It was downtown. It was an
Reggae.
old hotel. Used to stay there all the time. They played reggae all the time. And after a few years, they moved. That club moved like a few blocks down the street to this basement. Looked like this building that was condemned or something. There's like 500 people down there. It's only supposed to be like 100. That was awesome.
Oh,
But
I
yeah, I
wonder
went to
what
those two places. There was a place. What was it? The main street. There was a club on there. It looked like it was a restaurant during the day, and they played reggae at
like
night.
Porter Avenue or like Main
Portage
Street.
Avenue, right?
Trying to
It
think.
was down maybe 2 or 3 blocks from that. Was it Portage Place? Was that the name of the mall?
Yeah. Oh,
It was
was it
down
called
east.
Latin something? Oh, they
Don't
changed
ask
the
me the
place.
name of it.
Yeah,
Don't
that
ask me
was
the name of it. It was a place. It was one. There was a few clubs in Winnipeg, but those are the places that played reggae music, and those are the places I kind of
What
gravitated
did you
to.
think of Winnipeg? You were probably treated like a celebrity because anytime army guys would come in or sports players or you're across the border, you're treated like a celebrity in Winnipeg, you know?
There was definitely a kind of like American, and we we kind of got used to that. It was
Like you're treated like
Independence, very
kings.
friendly.
You're treated
I
like
wouldn't
kings.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but they were
And I
very
don't
friendly. And
exactly.
my daughter might see this one day, so I'm gonna leave
Especially
it
the
at that.
ladies, especially the
Like I said,
ladies in
I'm
Winnipeg.
gonna leave it at that. I can confirm or deny nothing else beyond that. But they were very friendly.
Yeah, I do
The ladies.
remember that. Actually, it's interesting you came from my knot. I gotta talk to you maybe after the show because there's someone that I met like probably over 20 years ago, and I was looking for them just to connect because I couldn't figure out why this person 20 years later would just come in my mind, right? And it's kind of a deeper story. I won't go into the whole thing, but when September 11th hit, I remember being in university and something just told me like instantly like just pray for this guy, like pray for him. But I don't we only met like out, like it was just a very brief meeting, but something
Mhm.
was very very strong to, and over the years he's kind of just popped in my mind, and I'm like, I only have his first name, but he was stationed in the Air Force probably maybe in 2008 ish
Oh,
or
that's
5.
way
Yeah,
after
it's
my
way
time.
after. And I have tried looking for him, not for any, it was just for me, I want to look for him because I was so curious. Why is this person keep popping in and out when I don't even, you meet lots of people in your lifetime, right? But for me, I'm like, okay, there's got to be a reason why, because it's just so random, you know? So, anyways, I couldn't, I only have his first name and a picture. That's it. I was like, how do I find
Maybe
this
it was
person?
2008. I was out of the
You
service
would have
by
been
that time.
gone. Yeah, yeah. I even looked up, my not, Air Force, like, on, like, the Facebook pages. I even
Oh
added
yeah,
myself,
that's
like, a
I've
crazy
I've done that. I've known people's first and
find
last
out
name.
what.
Trying to track
Yeah,
them down. It's like yeah.
yeah. I'm more, like, curious because 'cause I'm just trying to figure out why it's come in and out over the years, you know? So, but yeah, he would come down, from Minot and, with different, people to Winnipeg. But I
Yeah.
also knew that all these guys were definitely treated like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, like they were treated like kings. So
Like I
when
said,
you
I
walk
don't think I'd go quite that far, but there was definitely some interest from the ladies.
exactly. Yeah, I could, let's see. Let's zoom in on him. See? I could definitely see there being interest from the ladies. I
Don't
can
hate me
see
because
that. Oh, man. Yeah. So how long were you in the Air Force and doing this, like, was it like 15 years? Like all together,
well,
would you say?
it's about 10 years, and like I said, I did some reserve time after that, and then eventually, as my parents aged, I had a I felt I had to go home, closer to home, so I ended up moving to Chicago, which kind of worked out because I was only a 4 hour drive, and ultimately I came back after my wife died, and my sister died, and my
Oh,
father
wow.
died. So,
Oh,
yeah, so I
wow.
mean, it was it. My father died 12 years ago. My wife
Mhm.
died 5 years ago, and my sister died 6 years ago. So my mom's by herself. So we came back home.
Yeah, that's good that it's good that you came back, you know? Sometimes I wonder that too, being from a different city or place. So you lived in Chicago for a while then, was it?
Yep. After I left Minot, not sorry, not Minot. After I left Colorado, I went to Chicago and I lived there. I got there about '05, and I lived there until about 20, and came back home to Detroit. I never lived actually in the city. It was the city. Chicago was kind of like Detroit, where there's like this renovation going on and houses were going through the roof, and there are some things I could have got in on the ground floor, but been about as big as this desk. And so I ended up living in the suburbs, and one thing led to another. I met my wife, and so I stayed there for a while. And after she passed, I came back home, and I was able to work, via remote. But they were starting to go away from that, so I cut all ties to that and ended up getting a job here in Detroit.
Oh,
So this is
wow.
where I am. Yeah.
So was it hard, like a really big adjustment going back? Because sometimes, like, I feel the same way if I were to ever move back home. Like, you feel like you've almost outgrown or something has changed maybe in you, living in different places and having different experiences. Like, did it take a while to kind of adjust back?
I mean, that wasn't my particular challenge. Some of the things it was different. And like I said, when I in the period while I was living in Chicago, Detroit had gone through a huge economic change. They declared bankruptcy. And once they declared bankruptcy, a lot of money started coming in from different sources to rebuild the city to what it is now. And I don't know if that was challenging, because Detroit had been in a state of flux as long as I've been alive, and it's usually been a downward trend. Now it's kind of going up, and it's not the same city, but I'm not the same guy either. I'm a father now, and a lot of things that I do is centered around my daughter and getting her the things that she needs, and finding schools and play dates and all that kind of stuff. So my experience as a 50 plus year old man is quite different than when I was a teenager. So I didn't have that. It was nice to have, friends and family here, having my mother here and being able to help her out, having my niece here, injecting myself into that lifestyle that consumed a lot of my time. And so it was a change, but it wasn't like a difficult change. It was more along the lines of the next mission kind of thing. This is what I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do.
For sure. How old's your daughter now?
She's 5.
Oh,
5
wow.
going on 15. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 5 going on 15. So I'm sure that's like a handful. Like definitely, you got to have a lot of energy if she's 5 years old.
So Rachel came along. As you can see, the age differences. It wasn't by choice. My wife and I got married relatively late. I was 39 when we got married, and we neither one of us had been married before. Neither one of us had children before, and that was our plan. And but it turned out she couldn't have kids, and we found out later that was due to complications to lupus. And I don't know how many of your readers, your viewers, or you are familiar with lupus, but it's an autoimmune disease. So we had to look into adoption, and that was a fairly lengthy process. And as we got older, it became less likely that we would be selected as parents. And they called us one day and it says, "We got a baby for you."
Oh wow!
So Rachel came up. Well, so I was 50 when we got Rachel. So it was. I never expect to be a father for the first time at 50, and but she's my whole world, and it's been a blessing ever since. We obviously had the challenge of dealing with the passing of her mother, and that's been a void that's not been filled yet. Probably won't ever be. I mean, I still have days when I says, "Oh, I got to tell Alicia this." Alicia's not here, and initially it was really tough for her because there would be days when she'd be mommy, 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 and but now she knows who mommy is because she has pictures and we talk about her. And, we actually visit her on occasion, so she knows who mommy is. She says, "Alicia is my mommy," and she tells people my mommy's in heaven, but she doesn't remember anything. So she doesn't have that pain, which is good and bad. She doesn't have the pain of like, "Oh, I miss my mommy." Although we did have that. It's my man, music spaz, what's up? And she doesn't have that pain, but she doesn't have the memory. So it's this kind of thing of, is that good or bad? And it's just bittersweet, and that's tough for me, but it's okay for her. She did have a moment a little while ago when she just says, "I don't have a mommy," and she just,
that's tough.
You can't do this while I'm driving. I had to pull over the front and he hugged it out. But she sees other people with their mommies. I mean to bring down the conversation, talk about that.
No,
but
not at all.
As far as the challenge of coming back, that drove a lot of those things. It's still tough. Some days I was talking to Alicia, that's my wife's best friend, who is Rachel's godmother, and talk about her all the time. And Rachel recently had her first parent teacher conference, and then the teacher goes there, she goes, "I got nothing," and she's doing great, everything's wonderful. And I called her godmother about that, and we talked about. She said, Alicia will be so proud, and we talked about that. So she's always there, and that's also part of the adjustment.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I thank you for sharing that as well. I asked if we could definitely talk about that. I know it's tough, and
And I
I
said
think
no, but Honeyful said we're going to talk about it anyway. She said
no,
very
don't
mean
listen.
things to me off camera, and she's going to hurt me. And so this is
Don't
why I
listen.
said,
Don't listen to him, guys. Don't listen. I always ask. But he's messing with me. But I do think it's necessary, and it's actually like um good sitting down, because I think Ron Love was describing you and he mentioned that to me. I was like, "Oh, wow." I'm like, me
we're
and
going to have a
you.
talk about
Yeah, he was saying a lot of great things about you.
how the refrigerator
He was definitely your advocate, like he was
is.
a promoter for you for sure. But Ron Lev didn't know, I guess he didn't know my story either, and that's we definitely have that in common.
He shared
Uh
that with me.
yeah, like losing partners, and that's tough. Like although I never got to marriage, it definitely would have gone there. Uh Probably within the year that he passed away. So to sit down and talk to someone, it's actually like it helps me too, just hearing these stories, because I never get the opportunity. I think it took for me to get on Twitch, and now I think I'm up to 13, 14 people that lost partners and spouses. It's a lot of people online that I've met, and the connection is just instant between us, right? And it takes so much time, like even for you, especially if you adopted and then were in a marriage for a while. Like for me, it was tough for me because I had plans moving that way, and having kids hopefully with this person, or just moving in that direction. So it takes a long time. For me, it's been probably over a decade, like over 10 years for me, but I still have my moments, right? Sharing things, sharing stories on my show. Sometimes you'll break down and have a good cry, or sometimes you could be, over the holidays, right? You could have different triggers, go to a restaurant, go to see someone that looks like him. And it doesn't matter how many years go by, those memories are still going to be there. They're not ever going to erase. But it does get
And
better.
you don't want them to. I mean, but
Mhm.
a couple of years ago, and I don't know who it is, but one of her friends reached out to me, and she says, I talked to Alicia, and she said to move on, and I was like, one, who are you, and two, it's like, how do you move on? What's moving on? There's pictures all over the place, and no matter what happens, even if I find somebody, um, she she's always the mother of my child. So you that will never go away, and whoever comes into my life has to accept some of that. It's like she will always be a part of us. Like I said, she's buried here in Michigan, and when I first moved here, I would see her like every few months, and my mom was like, maybe you shouldn't go up there so much, and that was, yeah, maybe I shouldn't, and but I do take Rachel up there, that's my daughter, so that she
Mhm.
doesn't forget, and it's very important that she doesn't forget, and I don't think she will. She knows what a mommy is. She knows what other mommies look like, and she knows she's missing it. That's where she had that emotional episode, and I anticipate there'll be more of that. But as far as that part of our life, I'm very candid with her. She knows she's adopted. I recently was talking to someone who adopted uh, two girls. She said, "How did you tell her? How did you let her know that she was adopted?" And I said, "The moment I took her home and put her in the crib, I said, you are adopted." And I tell
Mhm.
her that all the time, so that when she hears it, it's okay. But 5 months, 10 months, 2 years, that doesn't mean anything to her.
Mhm.
But what was funny was that, and she does this to me. I swear to God, she does it on purpose. I'm driving, minding my own business, was when usually the worst things happen to me. And she goes, "Was I in somebody's tummy? Where'd you get that from?" So I had to pull over and have a conversation with her about tummies, and was I in mommy's tummy? And she had a tummy mommy and mommy, and how I explained the adoption process to her was that mommy and I got you from the pumpkin patch. We picked you from
Mhm.
the pumpkin patch.
Uh-huh.
And
That's cute.
so I told her, I said, would you like to go to the pumpkin patch? She said yes. So we went to the pumpkin patch last summer. And
Aw.
yeah, and that was, it was clearly overwhelming for her. And
Mhm.
no, it was this summer. It was this summer. And she kind of, I don't want to say shut down, but it was like, yeah, this is too much. And she went to her space. And I said, this is the room where daddy met you. This is where he first saw you. And this is where we adopted you, da, da, da. And she's like, okay, let's play the piano now. They had a piano
Mhm.
downstairs. So, but she knows it. It's real to her. This is not something that one day, my biggest fear is that somebody will walk up to her and say, you're a doctor. She's like, I never knew that. And then we got to deal with that. But now she
Yeah.
knows and she's comfortable with it. And more importantly, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And so that's what I need her to understand. My feelings about that is that I've never felt quite good enough to be her father. There are really times where it's like, what did I do to deserve this? I mean, she's a wonderful kid and everybody just loves her. She is way smarter than me. And
Mhm.
so any kind of feeling is that, it's just like, not, you're not my kid. She's my daughter. And if you don't believe that, fight me. But I
Mhm.
just feel like maybe I'm not worthy. So
Aw. Yeah.
it is, because she's it's like the process is like battle
Mhm.
adopting a kid, and it's just it's horrible. And then one day here you go, and it's almost like you get the baby. Oh, she's so sweet. Blam! You hear the door slam behind you. Click, 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 click. Hit the locks, and that's it. You're on your own because there's no book or anything. So
Exactly. How to do it.
it's a battle, and
Yeah. I feel like that's really, really admirable, like, of you, because you don't see, too many men taking that on as well. And I honestly, my heart goes out to you, like, because it is tough. It's like the toughest thing by far I've ever endured in my entire life, is going through loss, But I feel like, and I hope, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I know what saved my life was taking grief share at a church. Like that absolutely saved my life out here. I stubbornly, I didn't want to do it, but I pushed myself. I stubbornly went and I didn't talk for 2 months. I remember, I think the first 5 years of when he passed away, it was just very foggy. I don't remember even how I got to work. I don't remember anything like in those 5 years, because I was so much in grief. But grief share, I didn't talk at all, which is very rare for me. And God did some really amazing things, like bringing the facilitator he brought in my path happened to her husband was Guyanese and he was Guyanese. So we had that instant connection. And then also her husband passed away of a heart attack on the 401 highway driving. And my ex-boyfriend passed away on a basketball court playing ball in a church and had a heart attack. So we had this like instant connection, that he was Guyanese, her husband was Guyanese. Um, she understood how I felt because it was sudden. There was no moment of preparation. It was just like you're with someone 6 hours before at a concert. I think it was the Black Moon concert we went to the night before, and then boom, like 6, 7 hours later, that's it, right? So, but I feel like he strategically placed the right people. And I know it was like a God given moment where he placed them in my path to encourage me. And then the other facilitator, because I was sitting there for 2 months thinking, what do these people know? Why am I watching these stupid videos? They're not going to help me, right? I was very uh, pessimistic and very negative, right, when I walked in. But and that's how I know God is real. So, and then he brought this other facilitator, and she lost her husband, and he was young because I couldn't relate to anyone. Everyone was dealing with people. I never met anyone that had a partner that passed that was young, like 30. I was, I think, around 32, 33 at the time. Um, so anyways, I say this to say that whenever you're ready, like I would definitely look into grief share because it really helped, you know? Like
It's
have you heard
definitely
of it?
it's funny that you mentioned that the impact of God. I had a conversation with a guy at work about God. And he was like, oh, I don't want to offend you. I said, you're not going to offend me. And, one of the things that, I remember when she passed, it was this, okay, I'm going to be mad at God. And I wasn't, because, it was a long months and months of this. And she was clear. There was a point where it was like, yeah, she's not going to make it. And, there was a knowledge that there is someone smarter than me, someone more capable than me, who's handling this in a better way. And that helped me. I never did get to, oh, why did you do this to me, God? It was kind of like, first of all, you didn't do anything to me. And second of all, it's like, there's a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was able to hold on to that and get past that did help me. I didn't necessarily do uh, what you call grief share. There's grief counseling. I haven't done that, but that that did help me, being able to connect that to some sort of godly power. Um, but to your point, it's like, how does that happen? How do you get to this point? And I was telling this guy at work, it's like, you know, I'm sorry you feel the way you feel, but he says, well, how can you feel that way? Because we were talking about fiction and all that kind of stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
says, he says, your God is a fiction. I said, look, either you believe or you don't. And I can't get mad at you because you don't, because I cannot say, here's a picture of me and God. And I can't give you, here's a point in history where God is undeniably here. But either you believe or you don't. If you don't believe, you don't believe. But if you do, you do. And it's like, and that being said, there's nothing you can say. He started coming up with, well, what if this happened? What if that happened? I said, I am comfortable, and some of this is tied to my wife's passing. I'm comfortable in knowing that I don't know everything. That there are things that are beyond my scope, that I have to, or I will literally go crazy. Say, you got this. And that is more important to faith than, how many days did God create the earth, and who was Lucy and all that kind of. I mean, I shared with him. I said, people get locked up in the details, and we were, especially in light of the political climate in the United States here the last
Mm-hmm.
few months. Oh, gay people this and trans people this, and I said, you know what? People hang their head on a single verse. I can't remember God saying a whole lot about loving people. Maybe we should focus on that. There are bigger things than to get tied up in the details. So I don't know where I'm going. I'm just saying that there's a greater thing. There is more to life than what you know, and once you accept that, there's a great deal of peace involved in that.
For sure. And I think everyone has to come to their own experience, right? I would say that I was like very mad. I was very, very
Mm-hmm.
mad at God actually, because I just felt very, very sideswiped. So I kind of feel like in my questions of asking why and literally breaking down and asking why, not just like why, but like a real, you're breaking you're breaking down like badly, and I think in those moments, that's when he started doing incredible things, leading strangers in my path, leading a coworker, to pray for me or give me meals. And I think that is what's showing love, right? Like having other people listen to his voice, like in their heart, to come up to me, random people coming up to me, guys. So many amazing stories. A guy in the Bahamas that was my tour guide, a coworker at my job when I used to manage an office downtown pulled me out. People at funerals when I did my friend's eulogy, like just so many random things. An usher going to a speaker's event, and an usher just staring at me like out of nowhere, and calling me out, like calling me out of that row, out of like 6,000 people, asking if I was alone and if I wanted a better seat, like smiling at me. I'm telling you, I feel like I've encountered angels, but just so many incredible experiences where, this random usher from Atlanta brought me to the front of the stage, and I was like in the middle of like, I guess, all these important people, right? But it was just such a magical moment because people didn't know I was sinking in grief. Like they didn't know how much that encouraged me. And so many things happened that night to me being in the front row of that seat. So I think in those moments he shows that he's there, or that our loved
Yeah,
ones are good.
people are always looking for lightning bolts out the sky and magical
Hmm.
things to happen. And while they're so busy, looking for this, people are walking past them. To your point, that will bring them the miracle that they need. I mean, there have been times where it's just like that's nothing but God. And I feel among American men, there is a certain amount of you have to let go, and we
Hmm.
can't because of our nature. I'm in control of my destiny. Some of that had to do with Rachel being born, because there was a point where it's like, where's the baby? We've been doing this for 3 years. Where's the baby?
Yeah, so
And
true. Yeah.
and Rachel and Alicia had this moment where she was just like, she was so distraught. And I remember she didn't go to work that day, and I was driving to work alone, and I just prayed. I said, "Hey, I'm done. You got this. Whatever you say, I'm gonna stop trying to control it. Just make Alicia happy. If I become a father, I don't, thy will be done," kind of thing. And 2 weeks later, Rachel. So
Wow.
there is a you got to just let it go, and say, like, I don't know everything, and be okay with that. And a lot of people just aren't.
It's so
And
true. And
you're
people
missing the
that,
blessing.
yeah, and people that are atheist and agnostic, or other people, like, whatever your views are, it's like they still have faith. They just don't realize that they're putting their faith in like a human being. For example, like you have faith going on a plane and trusting that pilot that you don't even know flying that
Yeah.
plane. You have faith in that person to land you, right? You have faith in the doctor to perform surgery. So when I think about it, I'm like, why would I have faith in a man when I know like he is so much bigger and greater and grander and does so much more? Now, I think and I'm sure you might have, I don't know if you've struggled with this, but like I think the biggest struggle that I have with my relationship with God is like, the question I have is, why do you heal people on, like, I've seen miracles in my life, so why do you heal people and then other people pass away? Like, why, and I've come to learn healing is on the other side as well, but it's just like, that's still a question I have for him, and I think the Lord is okay with you asking those questions, because they're honest, right? I think, he's not like man, where everyone's like fighting over an answer, or fighting to get their points across. I think if you're upset and you're disappointed and you cry, and no one should tell you your grief journey. No one should be like, "Oh, just move on." Trust me, I've gotten that tons by everyone. Just move on, get over it. But I did watch one grief thing, and it said if you watch a good movie to a good trailer, you're never going to let go of that good trailer. You're going to want to talk about the movie, you're going to want to talk about that trailer. So the girl said it's kind of like how grief works too. If you had someone you loved in your life, you're not going to just stop the trailer or stop that good movie. You're going to continue that movie and that trailer, right? So,
Well,
yeah. Anyway,
I was talking to this friend of mine about that very thing. He said, "Why does God do this? Why does God, kind of challenge me?" "Oh yeah, well, what about this?" And I said, "Well, you know what, man? If first of all, you're trying to put the infinite in the finite. You're trying
mhm,
to describe God in mortal terms, in human terms, and you got to kind of accept that, And I used the book. I said, "Look, man, this is the universe, and God sees the whole thing from the beginning of time
exactly.
to the end of time, and you're here, and you're trying to justify your pain and the ripples that involve you against the infinite that God sees. And it's not like he doesn't care. He got the bigger picture. He's like, I know where this road is going, and you don't. You're getting in the car talking about, how come it's gonna take me so long to get to work? You haven't even started the car yet. I see the whole trip.
Exactly. Hmm.
So, and that's the kind of things you really have to just say, let go. Okay, you
Yeah.
know what? Bad things happen. Another thing is, like, bad things happen, but am I doing everything I'm supposed to do to keep these bad things from happening? Or do I just, in my own limited capacity, believe that bad things shouldn't happen to me?
And this life is just such a small drop in the ocean
That's a
to
small
what's to
drop.
come. Like another good thing is researching near death experiences. I did, I think on YouTube, you could just catch them even on YouTube. I researched about 40 of them and they actually really helped a lot. Like they really encouraged me going into details about. So these are people that were clinically dead guys. They were either shot, one got bit by like a swordfish or had poison running through his body. Insane stories. Another guy got shot by a drive by in LA. I think I watched another where a girl committed suicide, and she said most people think you go to hell, but she goes, in my case, I actually went to heaven, and like she was only 15 years old. So they were like dead, like for however long, whether it was 30 minutes or I don't know, however long they were. And they all talk about seeing kind of the same thing, which is pretty amazing. So those really encouraged me. I encourage you to Google some of them because I found them fascinating. Whether people believe or not, like just try it for yourself. It kind of helped. So do you like it's been 5 years for you, and I definitely was not ready, like because 5 years I was still foggy and still trying to just exist through life and have some normalcy. Um, and I found moving away from my place actually helped me, like, because I was triggered with so many restaurants and places and venues and walking, like places we went to, right? Do you find it's a little bit better, maybe changing cities or like,
I mean, it's hard to say because I moved within a month or so after the funeral. But
mhm,
being there, being in the bed by yourself, seeing her office. I mean, going places we went. Yeah, that was. I don't particularly like the word triggering, but it was definitely emotional. And
mhm,
but I had some emotional events here because it was just this kind of like I said, something would happen. It's like I got to tell Alicia, and just that quick. It's like that's right. So, but I can't say if it helped or didn't help. I mean, when I moved away, it. I mean, since then I've gone back to the house. I drove back and looked at it, and I didn't have an episode then. It was really kind of like it was sad because it's like this story is over, and it was so
mhm,
much more for it to be. It's short answer is yes. It was good to move away. It was good to not to be exposed to that every day. Oh my God, going to the same places, and things that you would normally do would somehow have a negative emotional impact. That could be very draining. And coming here with the positive, I didn't move back to my home. Obviously, we live somewhere else, and but there's still I see things. Those are positive things that this help reinforce. So it's you'll never forget. You never get over it, but you move on.
for
It's
sure.
there's things that happened in your life when you were a kid, and that you never think about that impacted you and influenced you and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
It's just this is just another thing. It's just a lot more recent and a lot more relevant.
100%. Will you be, because I'm sure you've watched my show a little bit. You know how I talk about IL-2, like finding love in
I've never heard of you before today. I mean, somebody said this person keeps bugging you. I said, fine, I'll go
Oh,
on the show.
come
No,
on. I
I
know,
thought
I
I
know.
thought I thought this would lead into an aisle two situation.
He's
I
messing
watched your last week. Your last
he's
week
he's messing
aisle
with
two.
me.
No,
Maybe
no,
I'm
I'm
gonna
telling
put
you,
him a little bit on this. I know this guy's a joker, you guys, you know?
not
Um,
very
but,
serious.
I was just curious because oh, shoot, my, phone's typing everything I'm saying here. Um So, yeah, so I was gonna ask you, so for all you guys that don't know, IL-2 is about finding love in IL-2 or like if you're single, if you're in a relationship, it's restoring the love. It's basically agape love. Everyone needs love, whether they're by themselves and they think they don't need anyone or they're in a marriage and they want to kill their partner. Everyone needs love. But I was curious with everything that's happened, like, because I know DJ Ron, I can't surprise DJ Ron Love is not on the show right now, by the way.
We're going to have words about that. I'm over
I
here when
know.
you see me looking to the side that I'm texting him, and he's a dead man. He just doesn't know
Yeah.
it yet.
Where is he? Is he sleeping or what?
I don't know. He might actually be doing a show right now. I just messaged him a couple of times.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to bug him on Twitch.
Yeah,
But this is one of DJ Ron Love's really good friends from school, from high school, and I know he's definitely a strong supporter of you. And he was kind of hinting. He's like DJ Honey. He's like this, whispering, DJ Honey Flow, I may have someone for you. I have a good friend. And then he was saying all this great stuff about you. I don't know if you knew that. And I'm like, great,
yeah,
this is going to be really
I just
awkward.
can't believe you just said that out to everybody. But okay, let's do this.
Am I? Oh, well, okay. Now I'm going to start stuttering. Okay, maybe I probably shouldn't have said that online.
What did you say?
Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe I'm going to actually start stuttering.
What? Sorry.
Whatever. Leave me alone.
Yeah. But leave you alone. I'm sorry. Please continue your very interesting point. I am very sorry.
Would you be like? I mean, I'm just saying, like. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to. Now I don't know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that with everything you've gone through as well. Would you be open to meeting someone, or is your friend just pushing you in general? Because obviously he wants the best for you, right? But would you be open to like meeting?
To that end,
or not really,
to get you off the hook, because you're fading fast. And I'm going to help you out. But
okay.
I've had a few dates before. There was a couple of young ladies, both women who I known before. They just didn't work out. No sense in bad mouthing them or anything, like it just didn't work. But
how come they didn't work? How come what do you think?
Really, I just said I don't want to bad mouth them or anything. You just go right for that. It just didn't work out. We were in different places. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm not gonna. She was a woman, and she was, she wasn't. What's the word? Fit, fun, and whatever it is I'm supposed to say.
I thought you were interested in Sight Giver's friend. You guys look like you got along when you came out.
I heard you say that. You mentioned
like
that
to you. I was like, wow, they look like it could be a connection.
Cool. No, she was just cool. I mean, she's in New York, and I haven't spoken to her since then. I mean,
and Ron's like, oh yeah, she kind of did look like your ex-wife. That's what he was saying. See, he tells me a lot.
We had a conversation about that too. So, what are you talking about? But
man, that's funny.
I have that effect on women. But
oh, you do. Let's see, what kind of effect do you have? The Winnipeg factor, where you walk in Winnipeg with your uniform on. You have that effect.
I never ever walk the streets of Winnipeg in my uniform.
No? Oh.
No.
God, if people did that in Winnipeg, trust me, all the ladies would be. No. But even if you didn't, even if you just had like a normal shirt on, people can tell right away. Oh yeah, he's not.
Oh yeah. I was in London, and people were walking up to me and says, "Oh, you're a Yank." I was like, "How can you tell?" It's the way you walk, and the way you come out. So I immediately went out and bought an entire wardrobe from London to try this, and it says, "No, we can still tell the way you talk, the way you stand." So yeah, I accept that. There's definitely an Americanism about me, and it's just that's just the way it is. But to your point, as you try to embarrass me in front of thousands of people who I don't know, it just people are, especially at this stage in your life, people are different. People want different things, and it just didn't work out, and that's fine. I don't hate these people, but I was trying to say, like, within a year, people were like, "So, are you going to get married? Are you ready to go back?" I was like, "Dude, I mean, come on." But people advance at different speeds. I mean, I'm not actively looking.
Yeah.
I'm not in aisle 2. I don't know if that's the correct use of that term, but I mean, if I met somebody, it'd be nice, but I'm not actively looking for somebody. I thought I was going to talk about my book.
No, and we're gonna get to your book. No, I get that. That's understandable. Like, I totally understand that. Because I would definitely feel the same way at like during 5 years. I would, even though I tried pushing myself on dates. I don't know if you've ever done this on a date, but when people ask you about your past relationship, you're like, ugh, how much do I tell them? Because my story tended to scare people. I don't know about you telling women, maybe women would be more receptive to it, but with men, it's like it made them run. Like it kind of freaked them out. And I don't blame them because how much information do you divulge? Like when you date someone, like, should you save that? I kind of felt like I was lying by not, like I just said, oh, we went separate ways because I was like, I can't share all this on the first date. It's just it's too
Well,
heavy.
in my particular cases, both women knew that I was married because we were married, and from an outside point of view, this Alicia's illness came on rather quickly, but one girl, she knew, she was very interactive with me from the birth of Rachel, and she said, "Oh, she's beautiful," and I would post videos of Rachel doing things. This was all during the pandemic, so it was very nice to have that kind of relief of Rachel being cute and all that kind of stuff. And then following that, she was we were conversating, and it got to points like, "Are you hitting on me?" And one thing led to another. But the other person also knew that Alicia had died, and so I haven't had this thing of like, well, let me tell you what happened to me. I haven't had that opportunity.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
This fire yet.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Okay, well, so because I was wondering, I'm like, Ron loves like definitely promoting you hard. So that's why I was wondering,
Well,
if you wanted
I
to
mean,
get in aisle two, or if it was more your friend that is trying to just
no,
push
no.
you.
I mean, it was a little bit of that too, Ron. You
But
know
he
what? This
means
is
the best for you. He
he
means the
means
best.
well. He means well. He has always been he's my faithful Negro companion. We've always been through thick and thin together. I can't say anything bad about it. Oh, I think we had like one fight in our whole life,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and because well, let me take that back. When we were younger, we fought, but it
Hmm.
wasn't like we were mad at each other. It's just
Yeah,
like, oh, you're an F you, that kind of thing. And
he
but
doesn't
as
seem
we
like
do,
a fighter.
no, he
He
does.
seems more like silent.
You
He's
know
like
what?
a silent little teddy bear.
No, we're gonna talk about Ron Love another time. But just the yeah, I mean, am I ready? Yeah, I'm ready. But I'm not actively looking. I have kind of alter my perspective and expectation of women. I I know that I kind of half-heartedly and jokingly reference to the internet perspective of internet intersex relationships, and men are this and men should do this and women should do this, and
Hmm.
I definitely think that that's horrible, and I think that that's
Hmm.
absolutely useless. But I also understand that women will never act like men and men will never act like women, and you can take that for good or for bad. There are things, and just to, one of the things I've noticed about women's behavior is that in a very public manner on social medias, there's no man, there's no good man. How come I don't have any good men? Why do I keep getting all these dogs? Da, 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 da. But in public,
Hmm.
women are very, I know only word to say use it for is standoffish. They create an environment around themselves where the only person who would approach you is the dog or somebody who's aggressive like that. It's very
Interesting.
hard to just have like it's just very hard to have like a gradual conversation growing to approach women that you got to be like, what's up, dog? And just get in there, because there's no other opportunity to have that conversation.
Hmm.
And I'm speaking from I'm 56 years old. I'm not some kind of YouTube guru who's like, this is the way you get women and all that kind of crazy stuff. And
And I'm
this is
sure
him
it's
right now.
so,
Hold
yeah.
a second. Ron Love he says it starts at 7, right? It's like, you
What?
idiot.
What's wrong with him? He knows it's a Monday. It's not a Wednesday. Oh, no. He's getting
I think that
confused with my show. That's okay, guys. No, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're saying that from a man's perspective. Like just because um we are different in how we interpret things, how we and I do notice that. I don't feel like a lot of women, sorry ladies, I know you're going to fire a curveball at me maybe, but I don't feel like a lot of women make it easy like for a man to approach. And then you see these two sides divided. Like a woman has her wall up and a man then is like, okay, what do I do? Do I ask her out? Can I open up the car door for her? She's gonna yell at me if I open it up. Like, I feel like men are very confused now, and
Well,
it
I
feels
think
like
too, some of that is a generation of this social media bubble we live in, and
yeah,
I feel like I feel like there's so much that is just perpetuated by social media. You said a thing about, oh, should I open a door for her? I mean, I I had a father, and he was like, no woman will walk through a door without you opening it if you're
hmm,
capable. And it was just like, okay. And it wasn't like, oh, the female, the patriarchy and everything. I just opened doors for women. But to
mm,
be quite honest, if a dude is walking by and I'm by the door, what's up, man? What's up? And that's the end of it.
yeah,
Everything is not a battle. Everything is not some sort of, but the internet has grabbed hold of this, and men are this, and if a man does this, it's the patriarchy, and he wants to take your power, blah 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 blah. It's like, no, he doesn't. He's just open
hmm,
the door for you. But I was talking to a
exactly.
friend of mine at work, and she was telling me about she. We were talking about things, and eventually got to men, and she's, men are no good, and men ain't this, and men ain't that. I says, look, when you come at, I said, you know me, I'm just a guy, but you're
Hmm,
saying to me that men aren't no good. So if I was interested in you, the first thing I have to do is overcome that. So I'm already at a deficit. I have to approach you with this expectation of proving that men are good. And
hmm.
I don't, why should I have to do that? Why if you keep meeting these men over and over and over again with these unacceptable characteristics and habits, the common denominator in all this is you. Maybe you need to do something. Maybe you need to stop approaching the same men. Maybe you should stop waiting for men to come. I'm going to get in trouble. But whatever it is, the point is that if the same things happen over and over again, you should do something different. That's the definition of insanity. So
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, like I just feel like at this age too, there's so much strong expectations on both sides, right? Like, and it's so focused, I think, a lot more physically, but no one's mentioning character attributes, right? And I kind of feel like we could all be guilty of that just a little bit, if we're honest. You like what you like, I like what I like, whatever it is. But I feel like, you could pass up on someone great, by passing up
and that's
on their
always been
character
the case.
attributes.
We are human beings. We're drawn to things that we like, the things that make us comfortable, and quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with it. That's why
Mhm.
women wear makeup, men
Mhm.
do the things that we do. It's just natural. But when that becomes your sole criteria, when you
Mhm.
enter, years and years ago when Oprah Winfrey was on TV, she had a similar conversation, and she was talking to this woman, and she had, I think it was 250 things that a man had to be,
Oh, wow.
and she says, well, what do you have to do? And she says, be single. And it's like, that's not a
Wow.
realistic expectation. Why would a man go through all that? Why do I have to go through 250 hoops
That's
just for
crazy.
you to be available?
But men also have to look at who they're picking as well, right? Because they may want like a good woman, but they also want a bad girl. Like my friends always say they want someone like Mother Teresa, but then they want someone like, that's a supermodel. It's like you can't really, I don't know if you could have both, Because at the end of the day, it's like, are you going to have someone like like how your marriage was, someone to take care of you, someone that's going to be there for you, say if you're sick or things change, right? Like
I
we should
I
be looking
I,
at those things.
I hear what you're saying, and you know what? Basically,
And I
men
don't
are
want to
very
generalize all men, but
no,
men
no,
are
no. But
visual for sure.
men are very simple, very very simple creatures. If it itch, we'll
Mm,
scratch it. And we don't. I've always felt that women lie to themselves,
mhm,
and men lie to women. And
mhm,
there's this thing of is that we operate in our self interest. Feed us. You know what? And we're happy, but only women will do things like, I've had women say to me, I just want to see you get mad. Why?
ooh,
Why would you
really?
want that?
No,
Yeah, I
I
don't
wouldn't
know.
want that.
I think that's cute, or
No, I
you
don't think that's
know,
cute.
do I look cute in this? If I say no,
Uh-oh.
How's that?
Oh, you
How's
said
that?
no?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. You
No,
said
I'm saying,
uh-oh.
if I say no to that question, so why even bother asking me? Men aren't like that. I would never ask a woman a question I don't want to be answered. Another
Mhm.
example: what do you want to eat? That is a paralyzing question for women, and I just don't understand it because it's not a referendum on what you're going to pick or say. It's just like, if you say pizza, let there be pizza, and that's how we are about certain things. Men do lie to women, and men lie to women so they can get to what they want, but they're not
Mhm.
going to lie to women about how they feel or anything. They'll say what they have to get what they want, and I'm not saying that's necessarily a good characteristic or favorable, but women will lie because they think that's what you want them to say, and then it's 6 years later. It's like, I never knew you didn't like pizza. Well, I thought you liked pizza, so I ate pizza. And it's like, well, why?
Mhm.
And it,
I'm gonna have to
you know,
have
it's,
you if you're interested on the dating show. I mean, not to promote like you to like contestants or anything, but I mean, I think you've seen some of my dating shows that I'm having one on
mm,
one with different people. They
oh
have
yeah,
you have a
I've
good
seen.
perspective on things, so that would be fun. Would you be ever interested in going on to talk
Go
about
for it.
like
I mean, I
contested?
feel
I
like
won't
I feel
pop
like
balloons on you. I won't go
I,
hard
I,
on you,
I certainly
but
appreciate that. I'll
I
put my suit on and everything, and we can do that now.
I
And
did go hard on the other guys because, like they do say I like popping egos. You don't seem like you have an ego. So
not about that. I
on you.
mean, men do have egos, but you gotta, I mean, for me, you gotta. I also understand the reason why I'm not dating so much. I got a young daughter.
Hmm.
I'm taking care of my mom and my niece, and I'm 56 years old. Women aren't knocking down doors for that, and
Yeah.
I accept it. So it's just I gotta find peace and where I can, maybe in my novel series that I thought we'd talk about,
Yes,
but
we're going to talk about that. We're going to get to that.
but
Exactly.
you gotta grow where you're planted. And like I said, it'd be nice if I met somebody, um, a certain young lady in Toronto who broke
Hmm.
my heart. If you're watching,
Who broke your heart? I don't know who that
um,
is. I don't know who that is.
it's Ron Love knows, but
I don't
yeah, I
know
would
who
love
the
to.
lady is that broke your heart. I don't know. When
No,
when I met you,
and we're
I'm
keeping
getting
it there.
confused. There's two Ron Loves. Are these two
I don't
Ron
know who
Loves?
this guy. I don't think this is
Yeah.
Ron.
Who's this guy
DJ
that
Ron. I don't know who
Ron
this
Love?
is.
Someone's stealing your name. We were talking about
That
this
is
DJ.
definitely Ron Love right
We were
there.
talking
And there
about
he
this
is.
DJ Ron Love. Someone else
That's
is
DJ
messing
Ron
with
Love.
us. Who
Welcome to the party.
who are you, Ron Love? This is Ron Love too. Who is this guy? Someone must have heard us talking about Ron Love the whole show. We've been talking about you, Ron Love, the whole show.
I don't
Who's
know. There's
this
two
guy?
pictures. There's two pictures in there, so I don't know who those guys
See what
are.
I mean? I know I tried Googling this person's picture. Someone's messing with us because I don't know who this is. Who
That's
are
definitely
you?
not
Where are you from?
Ron. DJ Ron Love just popped up a second ago,
Yeah,
questioning me.
and
There he
this is
is.
the real DJ Ron Love. Someone's
Thank
stealing
you,
your
Ron
identity,
Love.
Ron Love.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Music Spasm says two Ron Loves in the same place. What are the odds? Exactly. Oh, that's your burner account? Oh, brother. Oh, great. Now he's one of those guys that go under five different identities
See
and
what I got to deal with?
guys. I
You
know.
singing his praises.
We're bugging you, Ron Love, because I'm putting you on blast because you were Mr. Matchmaker. But I didn't get a chance to really even talk to you because I was sandwiched in between Music Spasms and like his other friend I didn't know. So I was like, "Oh, I can't even." The whole mission was to talk also to you and Ron Love to see because Ron Love watches my show. So that's why I'm like, "Oh man, I'm sitting at the other end of the table. I can't even talk to you guys." I'm sitting here quietly at the other end trying to jump in the conversation, but I couldn't hear anything because you guys were on the other side. But maybe next time when you come in, I
Maybe
guess.
next time, because Moses Spasm says we got to do that again. He said something about, what did he say? Getting an Airbnb. I'm down because I thought that was fun. I like meeting new people. I like that was taking me out of my safe space. That was a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
like I
that
said,
was fun.
I
And
like
everyone
that.
was super
Even
nice.
though you didn't go to see, you were at a play in Philadelphia or something like that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I
You went to
forgot
see
about that.
Daniel, and you missed Scratch Bastard. That was a lot of fun. That was really wow, that was quite an experience. So I'm definitely down for doing that again.
Yeah, let me know when you're back in Toronto. And Ron Love, you never told us that he was in Toronto for the Toronto Film Festival. You never told me that, or else I would have
Yeah, you
met him.
tell everything else.
Yeah, you say everything else, Ron Love, about your
Mhm.
friend here. I could tell you guys are good friends, though. I love that. Like he definitely seems he's got your back. You know what I mean? Which I really like, and he's a good guy. Ron Love too.
Ron
So
Love,
mhm.
Ron Love is actually one of the characters in my book. Um,
What? Really?
yeah,
Which one? It better not be the affair book. So
no, no,
we're
no.
gonna
He's no, this the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it better not be the random affair, and that's the title on one of his books. So we're going to get into this actually right now, guys. So he's Amazon's bestseller author. He goes by Urban Nights. He writes Urban Nights thriller books. So some of the titles of his books are Caribbean Nights, Pale Horse, Black Bear, Sins of a Father, and ooh, the last one sounds just very spicy, The Random Affair. So which book was it, the book that I listed that Ron Love is one of the characters?
First of all, he's not one of the characters. The character
Oh.
is based on him. The guy is far
Ooh.
too cool to be Ron Love. But the thread of the book is that it's a it's I don't know what that means. It was a detective agency set up in Detroit, and the same characters go through each one of these stories. So it's if to put it in simpler terms, it's a James Bond kind of situation where he has these multiple adventures. So the Urban Knights are a detective agency in Detroit, led by Jordan Noble, and Jordan has a few friends that help him out with his cases, and these books are designed to be read separately, but they kind of build on each other. And once upon a time, when Ron and I were both in college, um, I got this idea. I thought the word urbanite was so cool, and just to respell it like a night, I said, "Man, we should call ourselves the Urbanites." And another guy's like, "No, we're not gonna, cause that's stupid." So I held on to the name, and I just thought that it'd be cool to write a detective story. I always liked detective stories. My father was big into like Humphrey Bogart and stuff like that, and I like that. I like Shaft. I like Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. I really enjoyed that kind of stuff, and I wanted to tell just my story about that. And so I started this idea about this guy, and like, well, who is he? And he was in the Air Force, and he got a bunch of money. Well, how did he get a bunch of money? And this just grew and grew and grew. But one of the key elements I wanted to be different than most thriller protagonists is that he's not this loner, brooding away, feeling bad for himself because the government done him bad. And he's got a team around him. He's got friends, and they react to each other in a certain way. And at that time, I had these friends who I really liked. Ron was, of course, one of them. And so I changed their persona a little bit and introduced them into my book. I hope that they can recognize themselves in the characters. And sometimes he's read some of my books, but he has I think he knows which character is him, but I hate to say this character is Ron. And there's other
Oh,
characters in
that's
the book
cool.
based on my real on real people.
Do you know Ron Love? Sorry, I'm just on another computer too. I'm trying to get your website because I don't think it's showing up here. So it's supposed to be running through my chat like every 10 minutes. So I was just trying to get that ready so people can add or it pops up. I'll post it in the chat, you guys. James H. Roby. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just writing it out here right now, but it should start popping up as well. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if I can pin it. How do I do this? I got to figure this out.
So
Okay, I don't think it's actually pinned though. Okay, I'll work on it while you're talking. Okay, so yeah, so that's really interesting. So when did you actually write like your very first book? How old were you around? And what was
we
your
don't need
first
to
book?
we don't need to talk about
Okay, you
age,
don't have to
dude.
say how old then. Okay.
It was a long time ago. Like I said, it
Yeah?
was while we were yeah, this is a long time ago. And so the whole story was that, like I said, I like these stories. I remember, okay, I'll just date myself. There was a TV show called Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer, and I thought that was just cool. So I said I should write that. So I'm panging away while I'm watching this, writing this, and then it was just kid stuff. So I was like, when I went to college and started monkeying around on computers, I said this would be a good idea, and so that's when I started back in college. So I got this idea of me and Ron and a couple other guys. We were a detective agency, and fictionalized versions of ourselves. And we're having these great adventures. And I get to the service, and I said, you know what, this is stupid. No one's ever going to read this. So I just let it go. So one day I'm in Minot Air Force Base. I'm downtown Minot. Went to the movies, and I went to go see Wesley Snipes' Passenger 57. And I see this movie, and I'm thinking to myself, if this could be a movie, so can my book. So I go back home. My villain is based heavily on Charles Rain, the villain from that movie, and I'm typing away and I'm writing, and I'm a pantser, which means I write by the seat of my pants. So I'm just writing away and typing, and I get to about maybe 100 pages, and I stop, and I said, no one will ever read this, and I printed it out. Every once in a while, I'll take it out and sigh and look at it and like, oh, if only. And I'm carrying this thing around with me everywhere. I go to my next assignment, which is Mobile, Alabama, and I meet this guy who also later appears in the book. His name is also Ron, and Ron is a member of Air Force's Special Forces, for a lack of a better term, Special Operation Forces. But he was injured, and he goes to teach with me while he's recovering from his injuries. And this guy, I mean, I could write a book about him, but anyway, he's just tough. And he's got all the cadets convinced that the best thing in the world is to jump out of a fully functional aircraft. So the cadets are like, Captain Roby, are you gonna jump out of an airplane? Captain Ron's gonna jump out of it. I was like, Jesus Christ, I can't have these guys thinking I'm a punk. So now I gotta jump out of an airplane. So we go to jump out of an airplane, and I bring this book with me, and I leave it at his house. We go jump out of the airplane. I obviously didn't die. And when I come back, his wife had made all these edits throughout the whole book. It was in plastic cellophane. So she writes all, do this. And I'm pissed. Like, who do you think you are writing in my book? And I get to the very last page, and she says, you have to finish this.
Oh, wow.
So I went back to write it, and then that took me a while to figure out the ending and everything. And fast forward a few years, and then I'm done, and I tried to self-publish, and I went through a vanity press, which is a whole different episode, and that didn't work out so well. And through that process, they gained the rights to my book for 5 years. So I had to wait for 5 years. In that time, I rewrite the book. I wrote a second book. I'm starting to write a third book. At the end of the 5 years, I joined a group of other writers at work over at I think is it Lyle over in Illinois. Ron and the gang, another Ron. Hey guys, and they provided me feedback. I got an editor, and at this point, Kindle comes along with this whole you can print your own book thing, and I published a book, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow. So then how many books do you have altogether? Is it 6 or 7, or is it a lot?
I've written 6.
Wow.
7. And,
does it become easier? Like, do you get kind of in a flow? Like how long? Because I think you said a couple years, but for all your books, how long has it taken you do you kind of recall? Like, does it take a year or a couple years?
The actual keys on board, I mean, you can do that in a few months. And I say this because the actual mechanics of writing a book is not difficult. It's a big beginning, middle, end. Everyone's got a story in them, and it may not be a fiction story. It may be something traumatic that happened to you, or something great that happened to you. Everyone has a story in them. It's just a matter of putting it on page. And a lot of times, it's how do I start? What's the first word? And that'll paralyze you. But for me, it's like if you don't have a beginning, but you got a middle part, start there, and then you can go back and add it. But that process is relatively short. just being quite honest, I mean, being an independent writer and pouring your heart and soul in this, and you sell 2 copies. I mean, that can make you like, why am I even doing this? And I've
Mhm.
faced that several times. And to that end, with the popularity of social media,
Yeah.
I reached out to a guy. He goes by the screen name of Alex Cage, and I kept bumping into this guy on what was it, Instagram. Like, who is this guy? So I read his books, and he's an author just like me. Several his story is similar to me. So I said, "Hey man, you mind if we talk?" And we talked, and I said, "What do you think about us collaborating?" He's like, "Oh, that's a great idea." So we go out and we try to find some other people, and we found some other guys, and we all came together and said, "Hey, we want to write a book, and the book's got to be, here's some of the parameters, and some of the parameters it's got to be an African American lead, an African American male lead. It's got to be presented in a positive manner. If he's a criminal, he can't be, uneducated or ignorant or a victim of the system. He's got to have his own agency, and he's got to be in the thriller space. And we got some guys to do that, and we came over our latest collaboration called The Collective, and it's also available on Amazon. And we're promoting that now. And that was a revigorating experience to find that other people are having the same problem. Because what a lot of these guys are beating their head against the walls, like, how do you break the wall? There are thousands of books daily that have come out. How do I bring
Mhm.
my book to the top? So we just started last month actually publishing, and
Is
we have
that
a
the
few.
collective? The
The
collective?
Collective. If you
I
go
like
to
it.
Amazon,
It looks
it's,
nice. Like the cover, I saw it. I'm like, yeah, do you have the books there you could show? I'm gonna just
this is
maximize the screen. It's a nice cover, guys. Like, look at the cover. It looks
so this
super
guy who
professional. I like it.
this guy who does my covers. He's called Rocking Book Covers, and if you're in
Mhm.
that space, look him up.
Oh,
He's done all my covers. He's recently gone to using AI technology. He says, "Hey, do you mind if I use AI?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And he's
is he
done,
expensive? I actually am looking because I'm actually looking. I do want to write,
so this is
and I
this is what he started with. This is his first cover he did for me.
that's the
So you can
first
see,
thing I noticed. What he got really. Do you have the other books there too? Like you have really
yeah,
nice covers. They're really nice,
he
you
did.
guys.
He's done all my covers. So he
Really?
And so some of the challenge, the reason why these characters are shadowy like they are, is because it
Mhm.
was hard to find African American pictures. And
Does
with
he
the
pick them
advent,
out or you pick them out? I like that.
no, he
That's my
picks them up.
favorite.
But
The
with
collective.
the advent of AI, he can make these guys, And he asked
Really?
us, he said, "What do you want them to look like?" I said, "Well, my guy wears a suit." And he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, my guy's bald, and my guy wears a Hawaiian shirt, da da da." So he was able to create this. And even when we said, "Well, can you switch this? Can you change that?" He went back and tweaked it a little bit to make it look like all the guys who are authors wanted it to look. So
Yeah.
yeah, as far as being expensive, I mean, it's relatively expensive. It's a couple of $100s, but he's got
Mhm.
some pre-made stuff depending on what your genre is. I mean, when it comes to self-publishing, there's no price that's too low, no price is too high. People will say, "Give me $1,000." Somebody else say, "Give me 100." And people really play upon your vanity and your, "I really need to get a book published." So you'll pay any price.
I feel
But
like
I've always felt like he gave me a good product, so that's why I went back to him.
for
When I
sure.
got this group together, I said, "Hey, we really need to consider this guy. He's a good artist." Like I said, his website is Rocking Book Covers. I have no problems with endorsing him.
Yeah, I'll definitely come back because I really, really like his covers and what he did for you. It looks super professional. And, it's interesting because sometimes we think we need a big following, but coming from a sales background, they always teach you that really it's not the big following that matters. It's the people that you know that are in front of you. Like, and it's not necessarily family and friends that support, it's usually strangers. But, like, say if you have 50 people on social media, start selling directly to them. I feel like you need to get a hold of, like, I think I did ask you when you came here if you knew Kimberly Brooks. She had the same situation you had. She only sold a few. I couldn't, I met her, I think it was in Atlanta or Texas. And she put her book in front. It was for singles, like a fiction book. And the the name was catchy, the title to me, but she was only selling like a few books here and there, and it took years. And now she's just taken off, like, like selling a lot on Amazon, and now she's doing plays in Detroit. But she'd be a good person to connect with, Kimberly Brooks, if you just wanted to know, because I feel like you already have the product. I haven't read your full book yet, but I feel like the product looks really professional, you know? You just need the word to get out there.
Yeah, and that's when I say everyone's got a story in them. I think that's the thing that really keeps people from making that next step is breaking through. How do I do this? And there's literally hundreds of people, particularly on Facebook, that are like, if you do this, you will sell 1,000 copies, and we guarantee this. And I encountered one of these guys, and he's like, "We'll
Oh,
get
like
you hundreds
Facebook
of views."
ads?
Yeah,
Facebook
not yeah,
ads?
Facebook ads,
It might
Amazon
work.
ads. You know,
It might
if you
work,
if
but
but there's also, there's some other things you just can't do what they say. You got to put the work in. Like you said,
oh
I
yeah,
don't know what the
totally.
young lady did, but you just can't plug and play.
I
It's
think she'd
work.
be a good person. I'm gonna try to see if I could get a hold of her, and maybe
Okay.
you guys can connect out there, because you guys are probably very close together, and she's very down to earth. She would give you advice, because it is challenging, especially when you're doing
Very
so much on social media and then you're investing so much. I agree. It's the same thing with DJing. Like everyone's like, go on Wedding Wire, go on this website, invest in this. But it's like you're investing thousands and thousands of dollars. You need that coming back in, right?
right.
Again.
People always have, like people say to me, and I know they mean well, and people say to me without a blink, you should do a graphic novel. It's like I should do what I'm doing. And it's like just because graphic novels are popular and people like that,
Hmm.
if I don't have that passion, it's going to show. But to your point, which is excellent, it's just like people will, you should do this, you should do this, you should never wrote a book, never spun a turntable, never
Hmm.
matched a beat, and they're sitting there telling you what you should do. And it's like
Hmm.
you don't understand how much this costs. I mean, this
Yeah,
is a
it's a
lot of
lot.
money.
It's a
I mean,
lot.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at your setup and you're talking about the multiple programs that you're using.
Oh
That's
yeah.
money right there. And and
Thousands.
people don't see that. They just think it's like, oh, it just happens. No, it doesn't just happen. And I know they
Mhm.
mean well. I have
Yeah.
people say that to me all the time. You should do this. You should. All right, dude. Come on, give me a break. But
Yeah, it's true. But if they're
it's
in, I know I used to sell advertising space, but it is a full-time job, but
mhm,
it did make me think that, yeah, you don't need to sell to like I have 5,000 people on this page. You don't need to sell to 5,500. It could be maybe the 2%, right? That will buy your merch or buy or invest in you to help you,
yeah.
like as well, or they believe or they like your show or whatever it may be, right? But it's not
And that's the
necessarily
thing.
to the
You get two
10,000.
here, two here, two there, and then all of a sudden,
Exactly.
you come across that one person who says, "Hey, this is great. Let me do this," and then you're suddenly you're. But it's the saying is it takes 10 years to be an overnight sensation.
Oh, for sure. Have you done, like, trade shows or, like, like, done a booth to sell your books or any.
I got one coming up on the 11th here in Detroit. It's the Motor City Book Club, and we're going to do one. But yeah, I've done multiples, and again, that's a couple $100 at a pop, and you sell a couple of books. I mean,
Yeah, I hear that.
it, it,
What
it,
about going into,
it's enough.
what about, because I know out here we have, like, chapters and they would have Starbucks in there, and they would have, like, reading nights. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
ever, but it'd
yeah.
probably be, I don't know if it'd be expensive probably going in
It's
there.
that's not expensive. You got to
Mhm.
find some places. Well, I mean, I think to be just honest about the actual process of it, I read a Nike T-shirt once, and it said, right now somebody is training. When you meet them in head-to-head competition, they will beat you. And to that thing is that, if you're not working at it right now, somebody else is, and they'll get ahead of you. I think the most painful thing about that is that you'll read a book or you'll see a movie or you'll encounter a piece of fiction, and it's like, this is awful. How did this get greenlit? And you're sitting there with this book that is your baby, and it's like, how come I
Mhm.
just can't get 10 people to read this? And because that guy, whoever he is, he did his homework. I mean, Netflix is filled with horrible movies. It's almost like a running joke now. And
Mhm.
but they're on Netflix and I'm not, so they're doing something right. I need to be that horrible so I can be on Netflix.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think that Kimberly, woman would be really, really great
Oh, that'd be
because
great.
she started with her very first book and it's still taking off, but it's taken
Mhm.
years. Like she would
Yep.
sell it to one and another person. And for me, it took some convincing for me to buy the book, right? Because everyone's trying to sell you something at all these trade shows. But then her poster came, like her title, I liked it. It was "He's Fine, but Is He Saved?" So for me, I was like, that's kind of intriguing, right? Like to me, like what is this book about, right? And when I was reading it, stop I couldn't stop reading it because it reminded me so much of a relationship I was in at that time. I was like, wow, like this is actually a really good book. It's kind of like a you remember David E. Talbert? I don't know if you remember him, his stage plays. He was kind of like, I don't want to compare him to Tyler Perry, but he's like a really, really good stage play like guy, traveling across the states. He's been on BET and like other big things, right? Uh, so now she's doing plays, like stage plays across now too. He says, not to mention Tubi movies.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's so true, Ron Love.
God.
I
But
agree.
but to your point about that, you said something captured you, and I'm sure, without even meeting her, that she's done hundreds of different things, and you
Yes.
never know what that thing is going to, and you don't know who is going to grab. So you just keep plugging along. I have used the excuse that I'm a father now, I'm a single parent. I don't have time for this. I got a full-time job. All that's true, but it's like the sales don't care, man. Either
Yeah.
either you're gonna bang it out or you're not, and I'm and
But you
I'm
have
right
the
now.
content. That's the thing that's so crazy to me is you already have everything. Like you
But you
already
got,
have it there. All y
but
all
in,
you all you gotta do is
but
well, not
in my
you,
hand,
like the
but in
sales.
my hand is the most important thing in your life. And if you don't know what's in my hand, you're not gonna buy it. And that's the whole fight.
Exactly.
This is the best thing that you will ever have. It will change your life, but you don't see it. You don't know.
Yeah,
It
you
might
gotta
as well
get out
not
there and
exist.
start
Yeah,
advertising, and
and
I
it's
mean,
it's
maybe
it.
Facebook ads wouldn't be a bad idea because everyone
Yeah.
is doing but I think they are expensive
They're
now.
expensive.
Yeah, and even for me, like DJing too, I'm like, "Man, I don't wanna spend a few more grand in," but then I
Yeah.
know other female DJs killing it, they spend a lot of money, like 3 to 4 grand just on a website to get out, and it
You
does
know,
help because
you,
for me, being in sales and trying to door knock, which I do for DJing, I'm old school. I'll go face to face. I'll walk in the department store, I'll walk into places. I'm good at when I talk to people, I'm good at booking that when they see me face to face. But now we're in such a social media day and age that you have to kind of have the website and the
you
mixes and
do.
develop all that, right?
It's
So,
interesting that you say that, to combine that with some of the earlier things we were talking about. Ron and I went to a, com- a I guess a concert or whatever,
mhm,
and we were walking along, and there was a woman just on the street doing
mhm.
it. She was live streaming,
Yeah.
and she was awful. She was
Mhm,
awful, but she was very attractive,
mhm.
and she had only the legal required amount of clothes on. So guys
Mm.
were like, people were, wow, who's that attractive woman?
Yeah.
So, it's like, I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I'm saying it's like, she found the thing to get eyeballs on her. And, like I said, I thought she was bad.
And a
And
lot of
well,
people do that. A lot of
let me pull that back. It's not that she
yeah,
was bad. Her music didn't appeal to me. But
yeah.
we stopped and talked to her. What are you doing? Wait, hey, Ron, I was being vague for a
Yeah, I was
reason,
gonna
bro.
ask it. I was
Yeah.
like, "What was it? What was it, Ron Love? Give me the tea." Ron Love will give
Gee,
me the tea.
trying to be vague, man. Dang, that's why
No,
you
don't
can
be
never be
vague.
honest.
We're
Yes,
putting it we're blasting
be
everyone.
vague, so we
We're
don't get
blasting.
sued by people.
No, we're blasting
But
everyone on the Honey Flow show. We
don't
wanna know who the
no,
girl is.
do not
Who's the
blast
girl,
people.
Ron Love?
No,
Who's
don't
the
tell her the girl, Ron.
who's the girl? Who's the girl? We're gonna
Anyway,
Google her. We're gonna Google her
her
after.
we're gonna Google hot DJ girl from Detroit.
Yeah, probably.
Knock yourself out.
Ron Love, tell me after. You don't need to tell me on my show, but you could tell me after who she is.
Yeah, tell her after. That's fully acceptable. But anyway, the point I'm making is that sometimes you got to find a device, or you got to get eyes on you, and she definitely did. She was very attractive, and but I didn't particularly care for her music. And we stopped and talked to her, and she told us some things she had done, and to Ron's credit, he applied some of that, and has benefit from it. But it is it's a race, and you don't even know who the other guys are. I know a common thing is like, oh, I'm black, oh, I'm a woman, oh, I'm this, I'm gay, I'm that, and people, Jesus Christ, man, come on. And
she's a Twitch streamer from Detroit.
Ron, we gotta have a real
and it's
long
a female, and she's very, very pretty.
Skills.
Is she living in Detroit, or is she living somewhere else? Let me know.
Shut up, Ron. Say no more.
Yeah, Ron Love, you're my brother. You're my bro. You're gonna tell me. I have a feeling I have someone in my mind right now, but we'll talk after. Don't worry, I won't say it. She's saying no comment. I think if she lives not in Detroit, but she's somewhere else, and she used to stream here, I know exactly.
Here I am trying to provide you interesting.
And she's very gorgeous. She is very gorgeous. If it's the same girl I'm thinking.
You're cutting me off at the knees. I'm really trying hard here.
I know not to say anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was I gonna say about that? Okay, can you lift up that book again? That's the collective book, because I feel like that's the flashiest cover. Okay, that book. Okay, yeah, move it closer to the camera so everyone can see. Okay, that book, I think that is your best cover. When I look at it, I feel like
this is the newest cover, and like I said, he used AI to create it. All the rest of the stuff. So like if we take this cover here, the second newest cover, these are multiple different elements. So the guys, the silhouette, the wording, the dragon in the background, the trait, these are all different pictures that he put together, and
like all your covers are nice, but if I were to just look at it and walk by,
this is using AI, and it's beautiful.
That's crazy.
And all the guys are like, "Yep, that's perfect." You picked
but
the right ones.
I think you could really, really use that book to attract women. There's a lot of handsome kind of guys on the cover. Do you have a bit of romance in there, or not really? Like,
these are short stories, so no, they're not. They're not any romance in it. But
I mean,
in the Urbanite, he has encounters with women. He has a reoccurring girlfriend, and who also broke his heart. This is another story. And he kind of because it's an ongoing story. So he meets women, and initially it was my approach was like, I'm going to do the James Bond thing where there's a new woman every book. I was like, I don't want to perpetuate that stereotype about black men and about women in general. So he has some ongoing relationships, and there are some fleeting relationships. One is by design, others are just interesting enough. Let me see if I can find it. So,
you need to know your target, I feel, and
that's the thing too. Because when I started off writing these books, I had beautiful women in the cover, and I don't know how familiar you are with the thriller space, but one of the problems I had with thrillers is that these guys are former SAS and MI5 and Navy SEALs, and they're killing people, jumping through the air, shooting two guns at the same time, and they see a girl, it's like gosh, they get all but people are gravitating to that because that particular crowd is an older conservative crowd, and they don't like sex in books. That's an ongoing conversation about the thriller genres like this. We shouldn't have sex, and there's a lot of fade to black kind of things. And in my first book, there was actually my second book, it was like 3 sex scenes, and they're pretty good. And but I had to dial all that back because I had to recognize my audience. So now there's a lot of fade to black, and they kiss, and then in the next scene is them in the morning. So you got to recognize that. But to your point, there is some romance. It's not a romantic book. He has a woman that his latest girlfriend he tries to woo, and he ultimately she's going to be his girlfriend for the next few novels, so it's not like he's just. But to that end, the reason why that's popular because the chases was stimulating from a story point of view. How the back and forth, Willie one he that's very important. I don't know if you ever watched Friends, but how long
Yes. Yes.
did
Ross and
Rachel
Rachel.
and Ross
I
just
loved
break
it.
up and get back together again and break up?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
just said it.
people
I
loved
love
it.
it. But
Everyone
that
was like,
was
when are they coming? When are they
ridiculous.
get
They
back?
got married. She married
Yeah.
somebody else. They had a
Yeah.
baby. And it was like,
Yeah.
just get together already.
It's kind of like
So that's
Who's the Boss? It's like with Tony and
yeah, with
Angela. Like
Tony,
you always want them
that went on.
together. And
Will they ever get together? And there was
yeah.
always these two because that's exciting. That's interesting. It was like,
But
oh,
they
they
kept
didn't.
the storyline forever going for
Yeah,
years, right?
but there is definitely a point,
And then
particularly
that
with
build up finally when they finally dropped everything and had that kiss, like it was like such a build up of years. Everyone's like rooting, okay, they're gonna get back. They're gonna get, you know what I mean? Like it was
but there
such a
is a
good
point
build
when you go to that well too often.
up. Hmm.
Like it's particularly with Ross and Rachel, it's just like how many times are these two gonna break up? Then they his I guess he married a woman and she was gay and she had a girlfriend. They were both raised in it just kept going and going and going and going and going. And it's like it was just too much. So but there is a bit of we don't want this guy to just have throwaway women every book.
Hmm.
And I am very cognizant of the fact that we are all of us in this collective. We are all African American men, and we want
Hmm.
to not necessarily present a false image, but not present the same image that's always been projected that people always see and expect of African American men that we're all uneducated, that we're all
Hmm.
criminals, that we're all this kind of thing.
Hmm.
And
That's good. That's good. You're
that went a
aware.
lot to the creation of the urbanites because all those guys are first of all they're based upon people I know, and I don't know people with multiple kids on wedlock and people who are criminals. That's because I'm not. That's not me. I'm
Hmm.
from Detroit, and I can I can go there if I want to, but I'm no thug.
Hmm.
I'm no hardened criminal. I'm not from the bricks. I mean, I know where they are, but
Hmm.
I don't think I need to go around trying to project. And a lot of people do that. They're like, "Oh, I'm so hard. I'm so this." Man, you was a punk. I remember you when you got your lunch money stolen.
It's so funny. Oh, he's quite
But we need to
soft.
move forward. Yeah,
He'll probably say you're softer,
who's
Ron
quite
Love.
soft? See,
He said
Ron's not
you're quite soft.
okay.
I feel like
Thank,
you're
thank,
like a big
thank you, Ron.
little teddy bear. I feel like you're a little scaredy cat of Honey Flow, Ron Love, and you're saying your bro, your fam right here soft. I feel like you could be more softer than he is. I don't know.
Live on air, man. Just dime me out like that, man.
Yeah, he's saying you're soft.
What up, though, man? I mean, come on.
I know. He's spilling the tea. Wow, on this
He thinks
interview.
that's funny, man. Christmas is gonna suck for you, man.
That's what friends do, which is
Is
funny.
that what friends do? These
That's
are
what
new
they
friends.
do. They put you
Yeah.
on blast. Trust me, my friends put me
He
on
just put
blast.
me on blast.
So
But
I was
anyway,
curious because when I was Googling like how long it would take to write a book, it felt very daunting to me. Like it said, you got to write over 550 words a day. It's probably going to take you anywhere from 8 months to a year. But then I met another guy I interviewed maybe last month. He wrote his book within 72 hours, which I could not even fathom. So would you say that there is a timeline where you have to dedicate every day and like,
so
or not
it's
really? It could,
so let me tell you two things, especially since you're interested in writing. There's an
mhm,
organization called NaMoWriMo, and it stands for
mhm.
National. Let me see, NaMo,
I'm gonna write
National
it down.
Novel Writing Month. NaMoWriMo,
Mhm.
and the I think it's this month. Oh shoot, you just
Hmm.
missed it. So the month of November, you start off with this. You have to write. I think it's 1,400 words a day to reach the goal of 50,000 words.
Oh,
And the
wow.
objective is to write a whole novel of 50,000 words in a month.
Mhm.
And I've done that several times. I've made the challenge a
Interesting.
couple of times, and I didn't do it a couple of times. But I think
Mhm.
more than anything, especially if you're not on a necessarily a timeline, like you got a deadline because you have an editor you have to respond to or
Well, I'd like
something.
to be. I'd like to,
So, but that would kind of dictate some of how long it would take. If they say, "Hey, you need to write a book by September," then you got that long to write a book. But if you're not doing that, you need to set aside some time to write a book. When I wrote my last novel, I said I'm going to get up an hour early and write a book. And Rachel was still a baby, and she hadn't stumbled out of bed. She woke up at the same time. So I knew if I got up before that at a solid hour, bang out a chapter or bang out whatever. If you do things like that, you'll get to the book. I think more than anything, I think what you're talking about is the reason why people don't write as much as they do, because they put this artificial pressure on themselves. Like, I got to do this, and if I don't do, I was supposed to write 500 words yesterday. I got to write 1,000 words today. If you do that, you're creating a reason for you to punch out. I missed it. I can't get out. I think consistency is more than anything. If it's better to write 100 words a day than to try to do 500 words once a week, because it's just you're creating an unnecessary.
And how do you know whether you're really doing it right or not? Like, I mean,
that's a good question.
Edit yourself,
you gotta trust yourself. I think there's two things. One is that you gotta trust yourself. You gotta the stories that are good, they're good because they relate to things. This young lady, her mother was in our writing group, and she wrote this story about this guy named Elbow, and it was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Every time she brought it in, it was for this guy was just the biggest loser. And he would do goofy things, and he would stumble through relationships with women and all that kind of stuff, and it was just funny. And she just wrote it. So one, you got to kind of trust yourself, and two, you need to have people you can trust, not people with your same last name. People who will tell you, James, we love you, but this sucks. You need that kind of feedback. There's a lot of writing groups. I mentioned mine, Writers at Work. I used to go to them faithfully every week, and you would bring a chunk of your book and you would read it, and they would, this is good, this is bad. You need that kind of feedback, because if you like it, somebody else does. There's some stuff out there that is just bad. And when you hear it, it's bad. There's stuff out there that this is not my thing. I'm not particularly into this genre, but this is good. This woman I'm telling you about wrote the story about Elbow. Her daughter wrote a book that was about a girl who was a werewolf, and I'm completely not interested in that. And this girl's journey to being a werewolf, to accepting her wolfness, her wolf persona had its own identity, and it would speak to her. And basically, they finally got to a point where they became one person. And that was interesting. She wrote a book. It was interesting it was basically The Apprentice, but everybody was a wizard or a warlock or something like that. And it's just this girl who was very shy, and she ended up on the show because she was the best wizard in her school. And, it was some romance. It was aimed at tweens, so there was some romance involved and everything. That doesn't speak to me at all. But she wrote a good book.
Interesting. And do you think people still read books like in this day and age? Oh, you do?
Absolutely. I believe that. I believe that people are leaning on audiobooks, and people need something to read while they're on the train. I think different demographics read, because people are still making money. Did you hear about The Gray Man? It was a Netflix movie.
No,
that started from a series of novels. I mean, you talk about people still reading. Just talk about Harry Potter. Somebody read them books. The richest woman in Britain. So people are reading, and it's just a matter of these things that are like, oh, nobody reads. No, I suck. These are things that roadblock that you're putting in front of yourself. Let that take care. Write the book, and then let that other stuff take care of itself. And if you don't believe in your book,
definitely
why should anybody else?
Yeah, no, that's true. Have you ever written two books at the same time? I was kind of thinking that, because I'm thinking in my mind fiction and nonfiction. Like I already know, but I feel like they could be aligned. Like I would break my story into characters. So my book would obviously be more like, for me, I want to do a nonfiction book on grief and loss to help people, because I do remember when I went through all that. Yeah, you watch videos. Yeah, you hear people's stories, but it's like I always felt at that time no one really understood like anything that I went through, especially being alone in a big city. Like no one understood how that feeling was, right? So for me, I thought, oh, it'd be a great idea to interview different people that have lost, like a spouse, a mother, a baby, like maybe losing, someone very quickly compared to maybe cancer where you have more time to prepare. Like just all those things I was thinking I would kind of bring all those stories like chicken soup for the soul, like bring all those stories in and make some. That's kind of I don't even know if I should be sharing this idea because I've kind of started, but and then I also thought like so to do it nonfiction and kind of this is how not how you're going to feel, but this is how all these different people felt, right? And pulling all their stories. And then the other book I thought was what is it uh, like fiction taking you away, but that would be more my story. Like, okay, this, person moved to a city and had all these dreams and hopes and did all this stuff and then building up that Ross and Rachel, like that kind of romance type of story, because it really was kind of a romance, like good aisle two story between me and the person that I met before he passed. It really, really was. So kind of building that up and then building other characters with it. So I kind of thought, well, I wonder if I could work on two of these at the same time, if that's possible.
I think that to answer your question, I mean, if they, take my advice for what it's worth. If I hadn't written a book, I think you need to finish the book. I think that's the most important thing because there's an exercise that they present to authors. It's like you're in an elevator and you meet the CEO of Random House or whatever, and he turns to you and says, "Hi, I'm the CEO of Random House. Tell me about your book." And so, first of all, you got to have a 30-second sales pitch. My book's about da, 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 da. And then if he says, "That's great, send me a copy of it," and you got nothing, you can't send him half a book.
That's
You gotta finish that book. And when you finish that book, you can immediately start the next one. They say the best way to sell a book is to write a book. So you write your first book and you write the next one because people, want to see your catalog because you've mentioned about me. You wrote 7 books. You haven't read any of them, but
crazy.
That's something like, wow, 7 books. I mean, there must be something. Let me at least look into it. So if for your first book, I would definitely say you got to finish the book. I met a young lady. She must have been, I don't know, 15 years old. And she's talking. I overhear her get this conversation. She says, "Oh, I got this great story." She says, "Oh, what is it?" She says, "It's about a satellite and it's traveling through space." It's like, "Oh, okay, well," and it's a love story. She says, "A love story?" She said, "Yeah, it's in love with the computer back at NASA." And they go, "Oh, that sounds interesting." She says, "Where is it?" She says, "Oh, I've been writing it for 10 years." 10 years. I mean, she's been writing since she was 5 years old. I mean, technology has changed. But whatever it is, she can't hand that to anybody. Somebody says, "That's great. We're going to make that the next Netflix movie. Give it to me." She's got nothing,
Yeah,
So
that's true. They say that a book is like your business card. So when you're writing, do you just write on your laptop or do you actually do it the old school? I actually like the old school way of writing on
I know a
paper.
lot of people like it. They find that therapeutic. There's even programs that duplicate that on the tablet that translate your handwritten scroll into text. I've
Oh.
never been like that. I've always been a keyboard kind of guy because my process has always been is that after the first book, where I told you I saw a movie and that inspired me, it was like the second book was interestingly enough is set in Toronto. That's where I started. I was like, okay, what do I like next? I like Toronto. Jordan goes to Toronto, and that's and go, and that's all I had. Jordan's in Toronto, and somebody's shooting at him. So I don't really have like this real process. I got this idea. Jordan's in Toronto. What happened? Well, somebody he knew from his days that's a spy called him, and he comes to Toronto. This guy's killed, and these things happen. And then from there, I kind of like, okay, so I got this gobbledygook, and let me put this here and edit this and everything. That's just me. Some people swear that I gotta have that longhand. I could never do that because first of all, I couldn't even read my own handwriting.
And then you got to retype it all. But I kind of like it because, like that's what I did in the summer is just pull up a chair by because I'm near the waterfront, like my place. So I just basically went to the lake and just took a chair, put my feet in the sand, or whatever they call it, grounding, I don't know, and just started writing like on paper like this, and I couldn't stop writing.
I
But
could never.
do,
But
would you break the flow though? Because they say, I always feel like maybe even though your thoughts are all over the place, maybe you shouldn't break the flow. Like you should keep it going and then you organize it later. Or what do
I
you
mean,
what do you?
yeah, yes and no, because like I said, I remember distinctly when I started my third book, it was just an idea, a terrorist attack in Detroit. It's like, okay, now go. And, that's broad. And, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? Then you got a book. And the break the flow. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you should write the whole book in one setting, but I do believe
Mhm,
that you should go with what you got, and especially the first book. I mean, I really think, because I
mhm,
feel coming from you, hearing you, is that this book is on your heart, and it's something
mhm.
that you think that this is your gift to the world.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
I say with absolutely no hyperbole or kidding around anything, the world needs your book. And the world needs your book because there's only one honey flow. And no
Mhm,
one can tell the story like honey flow. And if everybody did that, the world would be a better place, because then everybody could know different understandings, even if it's fiction. There's a lot of me in my fiction novels. So the world needs your book. And I really believe that you should write that book. And
mm,
and and some of that is, even if it's not a million seller, you got to write that book, one for you. I wrote the book, I told my story, and then there's a business part where you got to advertise and all that kind of stuff. But you got to finish that book, and I feel strongly about that. I don't want to come across any certain way, but I really feel like you have expressed very strongly throughout this conversation that there is something on my heart that I feel I need to share with the world, that I have gone through this experience, traveled this road for a reason. And, I want to share that with the world. I want to tell this in a way that, there's something intimate and personal about a book, because you going and speaking on that is very different for someone reading a book, pausing and like, oh, that happened to me, or I feel that. So
mhm,
I think that, you know we can really get into what is the best way, what should you do. Your method is your method, and it's like, we used to say in the Air Force, if it works, screw the rules. Do
mhm.
what you got to do to get to that end point.
Yeah, I really do appreciate those words. I really, really do. Sometimes you let fear, procrastination, people's opinions, I was looking up publishing and how much money things would cost, and
It's
yeah, and if
scary.
you can even sell one book, yeah, it can be very scary. But I think for you, I literally see you as like how Kimberly, just what you described, it kind of actually excites me because it makes me think of her story and how you're saying, "Oh, I'm
None
lucky
of
if I
that.
could
This
sell."
is, this is a family show. We don't need to hear about what. Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, but like just how much she blew up as well, but it takes
That's
years. It's the
that's
same
that's
thing with
beautiful.
social media, right? It's the
But
same thing. It's like
right, right.
you're lucky if you maybe have like, maybe a few thousand people on your Instagram or only a few people checking it out. But then I've seen other female DJs, then boom, the next minute they're at 40,000 people. Like a video went viral, it spun out of control. And then they already had the content of 4 years of doing content, right?
Exactly.
But it
Exactly.
is
The first thing
frustrating.
somebody's gonna ask you is that, what else you got? What
Yeah.
else you got? So you
Like,
write the first book and immediately start writing the second book. If
yeah.
you have this idea for this memoir, and just given, I'm not in your head, but just given the way you expressed it and the amount of detail versus the fiction book, I feel like, if you were asking me, write that book. I feel like that's on your heart, and then write the fiction book. But I really feel, and I say this sincerely, all kidding aside, I really think that you should write the book. If you have a story to tell, you have to tell it, because one of the things that I live by is that if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And
Mhm.
somebody will tell their story, because somebody might be listening and says, man, that's a great idea, I'm going to steal that idea, because great artists steal.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
why I
now you
shouldn't have mentioned it. This is the first time
well,
I've ever mentioned
even
it.
even still, if it was done, they couldn't have stole that from you.
I've had
You
lots of
gotta,
ideas
you
stolen.
gotta write the book.
But
Yeah,
then you
exactly.
know that your ideas are good if they are. But for me, this isn't even just like, "Hey, I wanna get noticed. Hey, I wanna get this and that." Like, this is like I really feel with everything in me, this is like a God-given dream. Like, this is something that was planted in me, like, even before all those horrible situations happened. Like, this is something that's been in me since I was 17, you know? And because I've been so intrigued going to speakers and writers conferences and going across the world. Like I would always do that even by myself. I was always the person in the front row taking notes. And while people, my friends and other people are going to Mexico and different places, they're like, why don't you go somewhere nice? Like, why are you going to the States for a speakers and writers conference? But it just lit me up. Like, and I saw all these people and I'm just like, man, like, they're multimillionaires, they're successful. Like I look at the Tony Gaskins or the people that I've seen, and it's just like we can all have conversations like that. What makes them successful
It's
compared to you? Why can't you be
it's funny. It's funny
successful?
you say that because we were that knucklehead Ron Love and I were talking, and he was like, what do you think she's going to ask you? What do you think you're going to talk about?" And I said, Ron, I know she's into music. I said maybe she'll ask me about the birth of techno or anything like that, which I was really prepared for, and you didn't. But I'm okay.
No, I
And
that's good.
she says, yeah, we were there and we started going back and forth. Well, what about this? Yeah, I remember that. And I was thinking, I said, you know what, man, what's interesting about this conversation that we have is that this could be a TED talk and we could make podcasts and we
Mhm.
could do this. We can make money and all this kind of stuff. Just relating our experience with the birth of techno and talking about the Music Institute and the Wizard and all that kind of stuff. And I said, that's all these guys are doing. These guys aren't, these some of these people, like, and I mentioned them before because I hold them in some contempt, but the guys from what they call it, Fresh and Fit or whatever, these
Mhm.
guys portray themselves as some sort of expert. They're like 20 something. You're not an expert in anything, but
Exactly.
they portray themselves as that, and that's
Everyone is
half the work. But
online.
that's but they got thousands of followers. I mean,
Exactly.
I listen to them. It's like, first of all, you're talking about what's that fans, like that's like a viable choice for American women. This is
Oh,
like
brother.
a couple of thousand women, but people are hanging on there every word like there's
Oh,
some sort of
yeah,
genius.
totally. I was sitting
But
in Tony Gaskins' 7,000 Women, hanging on
yeah,
every word. The
every
only
word he
reason why
said.
this guy blew up is because he got on the Oprah show for having an affair. So how is this guy the expert on
Don't get me
relationships?
started on that.
I don't
Yeah,
get it. How
but
but so yeah, everyone can do it, right?
it's all about getting to that audience. But what the point Ron and I were trying to make was that here we are, in our houses and raising our families and doing the things, going to work every day.
Mhm.
We have actual knowledge about these things that would be valuable, but we can't capitalize on. But these knuckleheads on the internet swearing to God. I mean, I hear a
Mhm.
lot of stuff about movies and comics and video games. It's like, who do you guys think you are? You're no expert. You did some Google search. I should stop. But anyway, the
Yeah.
point is that we all have this inside of us. It's just a matter of exposing it. Getting out there, getting
I
up
think
that
you
extra
have a
hour in the
huge
morning.
yeah, you have a good niche though, because 'cause you're writing, like, thriller novels, like, predominantly, African American, catering to that. You're not putting you mentioned that you're not doing the whole stereotypical thing of what a black man is. I think that's actually a brilliant concept to do, and I haven't really heard adventure thriller type of novels from your I mean, I could be wrong, from your culture, but I think that's such a great um I think that's a really good niche, and your book does look professional. So I think the last step really for you is just exposure, just
Well,
continuing to get
if
out
I
there.
could just deviate slightly to tell some interesting anecdotes. So to your point, so I met this guy, um, JD, I think that's his name. Nice guy.
Mhm.
We're,
Mhm.
we're communicating back and forth on Facebook. And one day he announced, "Hey, I just got a publisher." I said, "Oh, okay." He writes books similar to me. Let me check it out. And the guy is in Detroit. I said, wow. So I reached out to JG. I said, hey, man, can I call you? Never talked to this guy before. He says, yeah, sure. So we get on the phone. And I says, well, you're with this publisher. Do you think they'd be interested in me? He says, I don't know, dude. He's kind of weird. I said, what do you mean? He says, he's got a very particular niche, yada, yada, yada. I says, well, I'm a military guy. He says, well, send me your stuff. So I send him my website. And as I send him my website, he gets real quiet. I'm talking, yeah, man, I'm doing this and I'm writing this. And it's like this really long pause. And I knew immediately what the problem was. So I just waited. He says, are your characters, are they, I said, yes, my characters are black. And he's like, oh, well, and so that was a roadblock. And he says, well, talk to this guy. So he sends me to talk to this guy, Hendricks. Nice guy. I say, hey, can I talk to you? He says, yeah, sure. So he says, I critique books. So I'm talking to this guy, and he says, you know what, James, here's my story. He says, I was an advertising executive. I worked for a lot of companies. And when I retired, I wrote to every single publisher and every single author in this thriller space. And I told him, this is what you're doing wrong. He says, you don't have enough black people. You portray black people wrong. And I said, well, I'm black. He says, well, send me your books. He said, and I'll review it. So I sent him his book. He reviewed it. And he says, oh, this is okay. This is bad. But the last thing he said was, there's too much urban vernacular in your book. And that really made me feel a certain way because this guy was also an African American. So I'm pretty upset. So we had set up a call, and he says, well, what do you think? I says, I appreciate the feedback. You had some good points, and I employed a lot of them. He says, but when you said too much urban vernacular, and he gives me these nitpicking things, and he says, James, this is not me saying this. This is me telling you what the publisher of Tom Clancy said, what the publishers of what's that guy's name? Carr said, of Brad Thor. This is what they said. I says, well, what are you talking about? And he says, well, you said this. He said, your one of your characters got a nickname. I said, that character had, well, that made them uncomfortable. And it's like, I'm not telling you this is what I think. I'm telling you this is what they said. So that also made me feel a certain way. And that made me feel, pretty defeated, because it's like there is a battle that I don't even know about. It's not that they challenged the name of the Random Affairs. Says, oh, we don't like that because he's got the villain's name in it, and this guy's telling us like, well, what about Dr. No? That sprang the greatest action genre ever. Well, and so I say all that to say there is a reaction to this, that there is some things that there are prejudice. There are people who says, a black superhero, well, he's got to be like this. He's got to be, an extra drug dealer. I don't know how many drug dealers of a heart of gold I've encountered, in the thriller space. I tell a story about this guy. He wrote a book. He was a military policeman, and he gets out and he becomes this this executive for a company, and he's shirt and tie and straight away. And the guy who's his partner, he's a black guy. He's got tattoos from head to toe. He's bald headed. I mean, it's just like he wrote every stereotype he could get. And I'm reading the book, and he says, yeah, man, what happened to your dog? He said, and the guy's, oh, my pit bull, I shot him. It's like, what is this? Well, I mean, it's just, but that was okay. He sold thousands of books, and I can't. So, there is that element. But to that, there's nothing I can do about that.
Even within your own culture, there could be that element, right? Like
there is.
Yeah, exactly.
There's books that that are very popular in the thriller space, but he's a criminal, he's a baby daddy, he got all these, and it's like, God, aren't you tired of that? I never watched an episode of Empire or Power. I knew they were very powerful. Just tired of that narrative.
For sure. And go by whatever you feel. Like if that's what you're tired of, then do something different. And that's his opinion or their opinion. Doesn't mean that's the whole entire world's opinion, right? But I could see how that could be a bit discouraging. Like as you're talking, I'm like, my mind's like racing with ideas, not saying like I'm obviously an expert on it, but I was in advertising, and sometimes you got to do things that are like outside the box, right? So for example, when I had realtors or sports gyms as clients, like they would just want to go in that magazine. Like they would just want to go where 1,000 realtors were. And I said, well, why don't you go into an home improvement magazine or go into a different space because it's like a commercial break. You're like the only one that is advertising there as a realtor, right? And it actually worked for them. So instead of going into the realtor book where it's like 50,000 realtors in Toronto, this big thick book, right? So I kind of realized that with advertising, it's the same thing. It works the same way. Like I know a girl, she's not an author, not a publisher. I just met her. And she did a book on COVID and cancer, and she almost passed away. And she gave me her book for free and encouraged me to start writing. So it was pretty awesome that I met her. And she just gave her book to the princess, like I think it's Princess of Wales, or in the UK, that is going through cancer. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't
Uh,
remember her name. Oh,
I know
sorry
you.
for UK people in the room. If you're in the UK and drop it in the chat.
Oh,
But
yeah, she's.
she personally, she gave her book to her. Somehow she actually just got a response from her personally. It wasn't her team, it was from her. So she actually read her book. Like, go figure, right? And she just said she felt like it was a God-given dream to just write the book. She didn't know how to publish, how to write, how to speak, nothing. She's like, I just feel in my heart. And I think she bought 600 books, and she's not even selling. She's just giving them away to people because she just felt in her heart to do. And it ended up going to the Princess of Wales. So you never know. Like, as you were speaking, I was thinking, I don't know why this comes to mind. Um, Something just came to mind that, like, you should give your book to a few talk shows like Tamron Hall. I know another couple here on Twitch. They weren't authors. Shout out to Yobe as well, and DJ C Sharp. They did a book on their marriage and ended up getting on the Tamron Hall show, which, like, I love Tamron Hall. But like, thinking outside the box, just not selling your book, but just giving it to, because all it takes is that one person, right, to network it. Maybe try some talk shows, just giving it to
Well,
them.
to that end, I mean, that's kind of brought me here. I mean, if I can get over
Mhm.
that lacking, you and DJ Ron Love teamed up on me and made me look like an idiot. If I can get past all that, I'm
Yeah.
hoping to introduce myself to a new audience. I mean, the way we met was very unusual. How we got to this path, with Ron becoming a DJ, interacting with you, and then that you interviewed him and then him trying to get us together and all that kind of stuff. Then that's actually meeting Toronto. That was quite a story that brought us here that I normally wouldn't have pursued in the interest of promoting my book. But I hope that somebody, at least one person, looks at it and just say, "Oh, let me give it a try." Because the first two books are also on audiobooks. If you're interested in that, that's a lucrative market, but it's also expensive as hell. Oh my God, that's expensive. But
Yeah, I can see that.
but
But props to
you got
you though.
you got to hire a guy, and
Yeah.
that's expensive,
But it
and you want
takes
to hire.
guts to do what you're doing. Like, it takes guts to, so you should be very proud of yourself regardless of what you've sold. Like, you should be really proud of yourself that like, a lot of people have not made it up to even past one book, right? You've gotten like over what, 6 published. So make sure everyone in the room, you guys, if you guys have any ideas, drop them in the chat or DM me or him as well. Any ideas that come to mind, right? Even, I don't know, I'm old school. I was even thinking making I don't know if you have business cards with your books
I
on
used
them,
to,
and then just
yeah.
dropping hundreds, like dropping thousands in different stores. I mean, I've done, and DJ gigs and things have come up that way too. But yeah, make sure you guys check out his site. It's JAMESHROBY.com. He does thriller adventure books. For African Americans as well, but obviously the audience is for everyone. And he's got some really interesting titles and books there as well too. So make sure.
Excuse me for a
Oh,
second.
hi. How
Yes,
you doing? Hi.
Rachel, what can I do
How
for
are
you?
you? What's your name? She's so
Rachel,
Rachel. How old are you, Rachel?
5.
5. Wow. You look taller than me.
Say bye, my daddy's phone. Forget you. What do you want? I'm doing something, Rachel. Daddy's very busy. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
You want
She's
a
so
snack? Is
cute.
that what you want? Go get a snack.
What's oh, she's left. I was gonna ask her a question. I was gonna interview her now.
No. There'll be none of
She
that. You're not gonna turn my own daughter against me.
I was gonna say, what is her the most favorite thing that she loves about you? See what she says. She looks older
Rachel,
than 5. She looks
she's a
older
big.
than 5.
I wouldn't
Wow.
believe she's
She's
like
tall.
I did. Come here, girl. I
So
wouldn't
cute.
believe she's like that. I was freaking there. But
Yeah.
she's going to be really tall. I mean, there was a concern. Come on,
Yeah.
come on. There was a concern that she was going to be overweight, but I think she's just
Aw.
going to be tall. Miss Honeyflow
Hi.
wants to ask.
I have a question for you. What's your favorite thing that you love about your daddy?
When he takes me to school.
Oh, when he takes you to school. Okay, nice. I love that. That's awesome. What's the
Get out of here.
favorite thing with the favorite?
I'll
Oh,
come
she's
back.
gone now. It's okay.
No, she's still here. Go ahead.
What's your favorite thing you like doing in school?
Math.
Oh, math. Oh, wow. Maybe she'll be an accountant.
Just be rich.
Maybe you could take your dad's money. You could take your dad's money. That might work.
She already takes daddy's money.
Yeah.
All right, off we go. You go get your snack.
Okay.
All right. Bye. Aw, she's
Bye.
cute. She's super cute.
I was like, I know she's gonna come booty botting down here. She's just so nosy. He's like, what are you doing, Daddy? What are you doing?
She's probably wondering, okay, when are you gonna be done there?
Yeah,
I know we gotta.
we're gonna be done. Yeah, that's exactly what she's
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah, Music Spasm says math is the best. It's so
Yeah,
true.
she
She
she's
seems
recently
way
been-
more mature than 5. That's crazy.
she recently got evaluated and she's above the national average. And I'm
Wow.
over the
Like
moon.
I was gonna say, even how she talks, very articulate, like
Please.
a 5-year-old. Usually they're like, hey, look at the sky's blue. She seems a lot older than
we have those moments too. Don't let her see the moon. Yeah, talk about the
Aw.
moon. There's the moon, Daddy, and the moon is full, and the moon is okay, Rachel. Thank you.
But I mean, 5 years old. Wow, she seems way more mature, like older than 5.
She's quite pleasant. She is, she's pleased and thank yous and nice to meet you, ma'am, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We're trying to get her to speak to adults and everything. I am truly blessed.
Yeah. And you should feel very proud. You know what I mean? Like just
I take full credit for that.
being a father and never think that you're not good enough, because I don't know you well, but I could just tell even from some of the things you said tonight, I could tell you're an awesome father, so keep
I'm pretty awesome.
going. Yeah, keep going. I mean, Ron Love definitely feels that way about you. He had so many nice things to say about you.
So down with this guy. This 40-some year friendship ended today. I mean, this guy just threw me underneath the bus with both hands, and also I'm done.
Throws you under the bus. He's quiet.
Now I gotta kill his character off in my book.
He's quiet, but he's subtle, in his approach. He knows
He'll be quiet until it's time to say the wrong thing, and there he is.
Ron Love's like, what? How?
Yeah, he knows it's true.
Yeah, we know it's true, Ron Love.
We'll talk after the show, bro.
So if you could have anywhere, like say where you had nothing holding you back, like could you think and imagine like where you would want your book to go? Is there anything that you have in mind where you would love for it to go, or how big it would get, like anything, like any big dream, for your books? What would that look like to you?
I need to have a major motion picture filmed in Detroit.
That's cool.
About my book.
I like
I mean,
that.
I feel like it could do that. I feel, it's a line between confidence and arrogance. I truly believe that. Thank you. I truly believe that.
Watch this one. She's like 1,000 times worse. Ron Love is an angel compared to this one right here in the room, Mariposa.
Yeah, but she don't know none of my
But she did say a
secrets.
nice compliment to you. We love
her.
Now you got to be worried about her. You got to be worried about this one here. Just saying. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
But it's just, I forgot what I was saying. There's a line between confidence and arrogance. I feel like my books lend themselves to movies. I feel like it could go that route. I feel like to what we discuss frequently, the thing holding me back is the exposure and some of the things that keep me from there is generated by me. And
Mm-hmm.
that was part of the reason for creating the collective and working with these guys so that we can get that many hands make light work kind of reaction that people can buy our books, and hopefully one person reads mine, and a fan of Alex reads his, and all of a sudden we got two new fans. I mean, I'm really in the space of let go and let God. I feel like I have some work to do, but I also feel like if I don't entrust him to some of these things, I'll never get to that point. There's been, and Honey Flow, and you will face this too. There'll be times you go, I'm done. I
Mm-hmm.
can't write another word. I've been doing this for years. I've written this book. I poured my heart and soul in this. You'll read a passions, be like, my God, that's so good. Who wrote that? This is brilliant. And you won't sell any. And it just breaks your heart. But no one sold anything. No one did any great thing by quitting. And no great thing was ever accomplished because it was easy. No one just, I think I'll be the president today and won the presidency. I mean, it's hard work. If you want it, it's hard work. And you
Mm-hmm.
know, I would love that to happen. I would just love for people to read my book. Even if I didn't, I would love to break even and people read my book. That would make me happy. But I'm just shooting the moon. Yeah, I want that James Bond flavor, baby. I want all that stuff. I want multiple
Mm-hmm.
pictures. I want people to be talking about me when I'm dead. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
want. But
Most of it's
I
networking too, right?
yeah,
Like just
it is networking. It
handing
is
it into
networking.
the right hands, like even maybe some movie directors' hands or people that do stage plays that pass through your city. Because I know a lot come through Detroit as well. Like just getting it's kind of like how DJing entertainment is too. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's not always based on how good you are, but it's based on who you know, that
yeah,
more so than how great or grand you are, right? But then
yeah.
also look at it that, and this is what I've had to come to terms with the last couple years, that was like, oh yeah, it definitely humbles you. But say if you have like a big arena dream, or you have a big dream inside of you, and you can't share it, but it's huge, right? And I talked to Father Damien about this, and he said, well, what happens if it was just for one person here on earth? Meaning, what happens if that arena dream never happens on earth, like ever? But when you die and you make it to heaven, and you could have talked to someone on your show or on the street, and all of a sudden that person fulfills, say, like this Billy Graham dream, or this big, some of these big speakers like Joyce Myers, or some of these big arena people, right? So what happens if you planted the seed in someone and they went off and did the arena dream, but you never saw it here on earth until you got to heaven, and then you realize how many people you actually impacted with your books or with your talent, whatever it is you did, right? He's like, would you be happy with that? And I cannot get that out of my mind, because it's like,
But
wow.
that's what I mean about everybody. We need your book because
Hmm.
you just don't know. I mean, you know, I think about my book in my darker moments, and I'm like, this is just, he's a private detective. He's running around fighting crime and driving cars fast. I mean, it's a fantasy, but you know
Hmm.
what? There's a fantasy about a little boy with a scar on his head who took a magical train to school, and that woman made millions of dollars, and people love her. But it
Yeah.
was ridiculous before it was famous. James Bond is ridiculous before he gets famous. And that's all I am right now. I understand that. I understand a lot of these things. Anything that you like is ridiculous until it gets famous. If you were to explain, there's a guy who wore glitter socks and one glitter glove, and he's
Hmm.
got Jerry curls. I mean, that's
Oh,
ridiculous
Jerry curl.
until
Oh,
he's
that's not
the biggest
not too ridiculous
star
to Honey Flow.
ever.
Curly waves. Yeah.
I'm
No, I
just
hear.
saying, everything's ridiculous until it's not.
No, it
So
is.
that's
But I
that's
I think my point is sometimes we want things done so badly this way, but then sometimes you eat a piece of that humble pie and realize that's maybe not the way life and some of the situations you've gone through, I've gone through, has given to us that we wanted, right? But then there still is a plan in a sense, and it may just
and
be
that's
for a
hoping
few
that,
people.
that
It may
God's
not
got
be
the
for the
whole picture
masses.
thing. Because
Exactly.
God is looking at this whole picture saying, like, it's not for you, it's for this person way down here who
Exactly.
you influence and you never
Yeah.
even know.
And
you
would
know.
you be happy? Would you be happy knowing that maybe it wasn't for the millions? Look how many celebrities are miserable right now. I can't
Yeah.
name one person in entertainment that is a multimillionaire that seems to be genuinely happy. I can't think of one person in entertainment right now, right? So, anyways,
Denzel Washington look like he's doing okay. He's got
who?
his family in there.
Oh,
Denzel.
Denzel Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay,
Even
fine.
even
Maybe he's the one exception with his
even Tom
family
Hanks, seems like
and
he's
being
doing
grounded.
okay.
But he
Yeah,
also
yeah.
had to dodge a lot in entertainment. He also had to kind of move a different way from all the temptation and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Ron
no,
Love
no
says
struggle, no
James
victory.
Roby. I see him more with like a David E. Talbert. You guys got to Google him. He did amazing stage plays.
See this guy, he's supposed to be my friend.
He says Tyler Perry collab. But yeah, what about like, I mean, there's so many things you can, yeah, maybe give it to some producers or give it to, talk show people or just handing your book with strategy, getting it in the right hands. I think that's all it takes, right?
Well, when
Um,
you're standing next to me handing your book, Honey
mhm.
Flo,
Yeah.
you'll do that.
All right. Well, you don't have to
Yeah.
wait for me to do my book,
No,
but
no, no. I don't.
I'm
I
saying
shouldn't have to wait too long because you're
because
gonna get
I'm a
off of
marketer.
this
I'm a
and you're
marketer.
gonna. No, but you got a book inside there. If you don't tell your story, somebody else will.
Oh yeah, like I'm definitely yeah, I'm definitely going to do it. That's why it was interesting hearing how you did so many things. Like I got respect cuz not too many people would do 6 books, you know? So but yeah, there's different ways even if I haven't written a book, I may have like business savvy or sales or different things I'm seeing outside and then you have obviously you're already there with the writing. Like you
Yeah, I'm right.
literally have the package. It's like having the iPhone. You have it in
She
your
said.
hand. That's why I think, man, all it takes is this guy getting it into the right hands. That's it,
No, I
you
believe
know?
that. I believe that, and
Yeah.
that's the struggle. So yeah.
Yeah. And just don't forget the little people like me and Ron Love too,
Oh, you guys
don't
are
forget us little people.
particularly that Ron Love guy. Man, I can't wait to see him. I might have
Yeah.
to drive over there this afternoon.
Are you guys close? Do you guys live close to each other?
Half hour or so apart.
Well, if you were here at the beginning, Ron Love, of the show, I mean, we've been talking about you throughout the whole entire show. If you if
Nicely, good
if you
things.
would have woken up, if you would have
I,
not been napping or sleeping on the both of us, and been
you
here on
laughed. It's
time.
probably what he was doing too.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just bugging him. Make sure everyone in the room adds Ron Love as well. So we're definitely going to wrap up here soon as well. Was there any authors or publishers that like inspired you as well? That
I really did like Mark Greeley. He wrote the Gray Man series. Oh man, what's that guy? Ryan Gosling played the Gray Man. He's I liked him because even as late as yesterday, I sent him a text and he responded to me personally. So I
oh wow,
respect that. He's also his portrayal of African Americans in his book is very good. Uh, I I I I I read every time one of his come out. I read as soon as it comes out. I really like in the nonfiction, and uh, shoot, I forgot his name. Bob Woodward. He has interviewed every American president since
oh
Richard
wow,
Nixon, and
nice.
his view of the American history and the impact of American presidents on that history is just really phenomenal. I've recently read a book about the American history. I used to really like. I wrote what was the book? Waiting to Excel and
Mhm,
Disciplinary Act. I love those
mm.
books.
I love those. Yeah, excellent.
Walter Mosley. I loves his stuff. It's a little different than mine. His books are a bit more darker, but that was interesting. I can't remember her name, and I'm going to butcher it, but she wrote the I Am Night series. It's about a young woman from Africa who becomes a spy. That was
Mhm.
very insightful. If you get a chance, Google her, Google I Am Night, and you'll get those books. It's a trilogy of a thriller of an African American woman in the thriller space. So that's inspiring. Um, those are the books. Those are the books that I like. I try to I've been trying to keep abreast of American history just because of the recent events in my country. So I've been trying to stay in tune with that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I like to read. I did read a lot of Ian Fleming. I met the first American author who wrote James Bond. what was his name? Raymond Benson. Met him several times. I love his stuff. So yeah, that's my space. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever
kind
looked
of-
into grants too, like for Black businesses
No,
or any grants
not
like that
really.
that would help? No?
I mean, that's definitely something that's out there, but I never, because really, I don't, and don't take this for anything but it is, but it's not money I need. I just need to, and we discussed this. I have the resources and capabilities of doing it. I just don't know how to employ it. And like I said, I cooperated with these gentlemen who formed a collective, and I'm really hoping that
Yeah,
will
that's good.
give
And
us
even
more opportunities,
what
more
about
hands.
like working with the, and sorry, it's not saying I'm an expert or anything. It's just ideas keep popping in my mind about you, like thinking of, okay, what about this? What about that? And I know you just talked about people that are like that and they haven't even had
No,
their
no,
book
no, please
but it's
continue.
just an idea. Because I know when I worked for Flow, which is like the largest, it was only for a hot minute. When I worked for the radio station out here, the urban hip hop station, my job in sales was to sell advertising to Black owned businesses, right? So I would always try to merge and connect different people in business, especially the Black businesses out here together. And then people would say, oh, we don't work together. And, our community, like I would always hear different things like that. Right. But I would still always push. And that's just an idea that I think, oh, maybe that could work as well. Like, because you have published, you're an author. Why don't you literally do like door knock, like walk into other African American businesses, whether it's a clothing store, a restaurant, whatever it is that they do, right? They could be a realtor, whatever, and kind of introduce yourself, introduce your books, see if they would have, like a space where they could market you and you could also market them. You never know, like a collaboration, right? So they're just ideas. You never know, right?
Okay.
So have you ever done that? Like maybe partnered? Because you said you're partnering with the collective, but have you
Yeah.
partnered with other African
No, not in
American?
particular. No.
No?
I think
Yeah.
I think I'll have Rachel just hand off books to people. She seems to have a winning personality in a way of getting people to open up. I'll just
Mhm.
give my books to my daughter. Buy my
Mm.
daddy's book.
Yeah, hey, that works. Push your kid out there with lemonades,
Exploit
get
my
them to
daughter
sell lemonade stand, and then all of a sudden that
right away.
definitely
But
works. Yeah. Well,
right.
I wish the best for you.
Yeah.
I wanna thank you because I know we're going on, wow, almost 3
No
hours.
worries. No worries.
So, but yeah,
I get
thank you so much for coming on and, sharing your story. I really appreciate you being honest with it. I know it's going to help someone out there. And then also, with your books, like I really hope, and I know bigger things are going to happen for you. I feel that, I know that. So keep plugging away at it, and
and
make,
I appreciate this opportunity to share me with your audience and the relatively friendly conversation. I know you and Ron Love beat up me a couple of times, but I got big shoulders. I can handle it. But I appreciate this. I appreciate the opportunity. Anything to help promote the book, help promote the collective, a relatively new collaborative. But Google them on Amazon, James H. Roby, the collective, and introduce yourself to a whole new world of urban thrillers.
yeah. So make
Thank
sure you
you
guys
so much.
Yes, make sure you guys check it out, you guys. Everyone in the room, you see the link here. It's also scrolling down here on this page, YouTube, Facebook. Definitely help someone that's also self-publishing. It's not easy following your passion, guys. It's not easy doing this, whether it's streaming or writing books or whatever it is you're passionate about. So always support local businesses and people such as this too, right, that have great content. So he's got like a whole thriller series of 6-7 books, and he's part of the collective as well. His website's down here, jameshroby.com. So purchase his book on Amazon. That would help quite a bit. And if you guys know any other people or connections, definitely shoot him a message, any way that you could help, because you never know who's listening, right? Like
That's
it could
absolutely
be a
right.
small audience, but it just takes one. It takes one person. And I can tell you amazing things have happened. Like I didn't know Cypress Hill did a podcast show and they're tuning into my talk show one night. Jazzy Jeff's come through a couple times,
Oh
not in the
man.
chat, but like just
No.
lurking, right? I had Tony, I think it was Tony Capone from the Loonies or the producer from the Loonies come through my show. Angie Martinez, I reposted her story on my Instagram saying how much she inspires me. And she took my personal page and posted it on her page. Like she didn't have to do that for me, right? Like who am I compared to her, right?
That's
So
what it is. That's what life is all about, those connections.
yeah, so you never know who's watching in the room and who can help. So if there's anyone that, is interested, definitely check him. So we are going to probably raid out. I'm just seeing who we could raid into. Ron Love, are you jumping on or no? I was going to put him on the spot now.
Don't help him.
Yeah. You guys, I love you guys are funny. I like your friendship. He's a
He's
great
on
guy.
probation.
Ron Love
Yeah,
always. Oh, he says no. Uh
good.
he goes, "Where's your violin?" I love that you guys banter each other. You could tell you're
No,
good
that's good.
friends.
He's gonna pay for all of that.
He's trying to play little matchmaker, guys, discreetly. He's trying to play little matchmaker. Um,
Yeah,
but that's a good friend.
we gotta
That's
do an aisle two. That should be interesting. You'll probably be mad at me.
exactly. Now that I've gotten to know you a little bit better, I can see Ron Love. I can see, I can see why you're trying to push your friend out. Like, good guy. I can see that. And I know he wants the best for you. Let's see here. Okay, we are going to see who is on. Oh my gosh, there's like a million people on tonight. I'm still going to find out who the Detroit DJ. And before we rate out, I asked you
I don't
zero
know who you're
music
talking to.
music questions. Do you
Yes,
have
you did. I'm very upset about that.
any favorite hip hop groups as well while we're
Oh my
setting
God.
up the
You know
raid?
what? I have not necessarily been a hip hop fan since like the 90s. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
definitely the greatest rapper in the world is and always will be Rakim. Uh,
Hmm.
once again, Ron Love. I gotta get me some new friends. Ron Love and I went to see the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and we went to see LL Cool J. And let me tell you, that's the best concert I've been to. Period. That was an amazing show. It was him, DJ Jazzy Jeff, the Roots, not the Roots. Yeah, the Roots were there. Common, MC Light. It was just awesome. So yeah, I'm not really into hip hop anymore. I'm more of a jazz fan. One of my favorite jazz artists was um, Ronnie Jordan. He passed away a few years ago. He was one of the
Oh.
architects of the jazz, acid jazz movement. And you can't talk about the classics about Coltrane, Miles,
Hmm.
Grover Washington Jr. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I like. Yeah, I'm old, but that's okay. I'm okay with that.
That's okay. What about R&B? Is there any groups that you could?
Yeah, yeah. Again, I'm not really big into music as I used to be.
Okay.
I am definitely like a 90s kind of guy, Johnny Gill, what's that guy's name? New Edition, that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Nice.
we'll have to have a conversation about house music and techno and how Detroit impacted it with it
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
impacted about that. Like I said, Ron and I were both there. There's a lot of stuff that people don't know because they're not from here, and it was just part of our life, part of us growing up. It was an amazing time, that era of the birth of hip hop and house and the Pistons.
So
It was just
true. I'm glad we grew up in that era too, like
oh god,
70s,
yes.
80s,
Yeah.
and earlier. So thank you for coming through, you guys. We got Bedroom
Keep it
Bully,
happening.
Mariposa, DJ Ron Love, Kent Mister. Now, oh great, it's 8 o'clock. So I think everyone's gonna be raiding into other shows. I was gonna go to Real DJ Rich. I've been on a few raids with him. He's out of New York, I believe, with his wifey. We do like soca raids together on the weekends once in a while. Okay, let's go to him, guys. Make sure you stick around. He's another great guy. Stick around for this raid, you guys. Copy my raid message. I'm going to just post it. Um, Yeah, we'll
Let me
definitely
get on.
talk another time about
Yes, ma'am.
publishing, and I'm very interested. I'm definitely going to talk to you about that, those different things too. Okay, so let's raid in, you guys. Copy that raid message. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you again, James, for coming through, and
Thank you
it was a
very
great
much.
conversation. Yeah, I appreciate you. Hopefully, you could get something to eat because we've been on for a while.
Give me some free vegetable food.
You're probably like, when's this girl gonna let me go?
I'm starving.
Yeah, exactly. And never come to Toronto. You have to message me. You can't just come
Fine, fine,
and not
fine,
message
fine.
me. I can't believe I met you and you didn't even message me. So I'm going to give you and Ron Lev heck for that, because I would have
I will
met.
definitely do
Really.
that. I
We're
definitely will
probably
do that.
walking down the same street at TIFF and didn't even know.
Yeah, if you said you were there around 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh well, I could have led you
Oh
to the
well,
red
next
carpet
time,
with
next
all the
time,
celeb-
next summer we'll be there. Ron Love
Exactly.
and I will be there.
All right. Oh,
I
Ron
will, I
Love,
will
like
drag him kicking and screaming to Toronto to have fun, even though he
exactly.
doesn't
And
want
if I make it to Detroit, I'll definitely message you guys. You
to.
know,
Okay, we'll
yeah.
take it someplace.
I want to
We'll
go to
hook
the
you
bulletproof McDonald's you're talking about.
up. Well, I'll show you the way.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
I'm
so I
not.
think.
I'm not going. I've experienced that. I don't need that in my
Oh
life
no.
anymore.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'll be talking to everyone and making friends with everyone. You'll be like, no, don't be doing this. I'll be doing that.
Congratulations.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to real DJ Rich, you guys. Stick around for this raid. And let's see here. I think it's raiding out. I'm just waiting for it to raid. Thank you guys for coming through. Appreciate you. I'll be on I think Wednesday for my other talk show as well. Okay, so I think it just raided out. I'm going to just
Yep.
re-raid quickly here, and then we're good. Okay, so I'm going to raid again. Yes. Oh, there we go. Oh, I could hear that. So definitely keep in touch. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to re-raid one more time. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, have a great night, blessed night, and yeah, we'll
Beautiful.
definitely keep in touch for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Take
Good night.
care. Good night. Have a good night.
All right.